Chapter 40-53. Because I saved both of your lives. If it weren't for me, you might still be in that perverted bamboo house, being kept captive. Fuck, Suyu wanted to say something else, but Huamin interrupted. Suyu, you drive. Okay. After Huamin spoke, Suyu obediently sat in the driver's seat. Sit in the passenger seat. Huamin pointed at Hua Xiqian. Sister Mian, you're so heartless. I just saved you, and you're chasing me away. Hua Xiqian finally dared to show his true colors, so he actually acted coquettishly and cutely to Huamin. God knew how hard it was for him to hold it in. He was especially excited when he saw Mian. However, because of Layla, he had to pretend to be Jack to torture Mian and mock her. God knew how hard it was for him. Right now, he just wanted to sit beside Huamin and accompany her. Sit down. Don't talk nonsense. Huamin could finally order the two men around with his head held high. Although Hua Xiqian was unwilling, he didn't want to make Huamin unhappy. He took out a bottle of water from the trunk. He handed it to Huamin. Sister Mian, drink some water. Suyu, you drink first. Huamin handed it to Suyu. Hua Xiqian glanced at Suyu coldly, turned around, went to the trunk, and took out 2 more bottles. He placed them next to Huamin. Then, he sat in the passenger seat unwillingly. With Hua Xiqian leading the way, it was much easier for Suyu to drive. Just like that, the 3 of them began their escape. Hua Xiqian. Didn't you go on a mission with that woman? Why did you come back halfway? Because she found out that you guys escaped, so she asked me to come and catch you guys. Does she trust you that much? Huamin was in disbelief. I don't think she trusts me. She just doesn't have a better plan. After all, she's facing your sister Lu Yan and your husband Qin Chu. Suyu, can we not go down the mountain? Huamin, do you want to go back? Suyu could tell that Huamin wanted to go back and save people. Before Huamin could reply, Hua Xiqian laughed. Little sister Mian, you'll die if you go back. You'll distract Lu Yan and Qin Chu. Why don't you let them fight for a while? I think you shouldn't underestimate Lu Yan. Hua Xiqian knew Lu Yan's abilities very well, so he hoped that Lu Yan could teach the Psycho Layla a lesson. But my husband and Yan are here to save me. If I leave, won't they get nothing? Huamin began to feel uneasy. It's better than going back and being held hostage by Layla to threaten them, Hua Xiqian said. Mian, I think he's right. Suyu agreed with Hua Xiqian. Suyu, can you drive faster? I'm afraid the second group of people will catch up with us. There's a second group. Suyu was shocked. Hee. What do you think? You can't imagine how powerful Layla is. I really hope Lu Yan can break her spirit. You can say that if Layla catches up with us while we're running, it'll prove one thing. Lu Yan lost. Suyu seemed to have guessed what Hua Xiqian was going to say. Yan won't lose. Huamin was very confident in his sister and was very protective of her. Yeah. I hope so. Hua Xiqian smiled and didn't say more. Meanwhile, in the depths of the dense forest, Layla and Lu Yan were fighting head-on with submachine guns in their hands. Lu Yan and Layla took off their jackets and walked to the open space in the middle. Lu Yan had a feeling that this might be the most exciting and fierce hand-to-hand combat she had ever had in years. Chapter 40-54. Lu Yan, you'll regret making this decision today. Layla smiled contemptuously. Okay, trash. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Let's beat you up, so I can save my sister. Lu Yan had always valued her time and would never waste it on meaningless people or things. So, Lu Yan had years of practical experience in close combat. She had fought since she was a child and had killed enough people to fill a city, so she didn't realize that she would lose this time. Of course, if she knew the woman's identity in advance, she probably wouldn't have been so careless. Come on. I'll fight you with one hand. Layla's words infuriated Lu Yan again. She flew up and punched Layla's head. This punch was full of strength. Layla reacted quickly and dodged to the side. She thought it was a trap when she said she would fight with one hand. But after a few punches, Lu Yan found that she really only used one hand. It had been a minute since she went all out, but she hadn't hurt the woman at all. This hurt Lu Yan's self-esteem. She almost used all her skills, hoping to end the battle quickly and save her sister safely. But the more she fought, the more she found the woman was difficult to deal with. After fighting for 5 minutes, there seemed to be no winner. This wasn't the scariest thing. The scariest thing was that Lu Yan could see that she was attacking while the woman was defending. In other words, the woman hadn't really used her skills yet, but Lu Yan had used all her skills. Obviously, Layla was dealing with it easily, but Lu Yan was struggling. Another punch missed. Lu Yan spun in the air. When she landed, her expression changed slightly. It's impossible. How did she do it? Lu Yan felt the woman's skills didn't conform to scientific principles at all. She couldn't tell what was wrong, but something was wrong. What? Are you tired? Can't you handle it? Layla smiled. Agitated, Lu Yan rushed up again. No matter how fast and fierce her moves were, she couldn't hurt the woman at all. The subordinates on both sides were also very nervous. Lu Yan's subordinates saw it clearly and began to worry for their boss. Boss, something's wrong. No way, why do I feel like there's something wrong with that woman? But I think it's because our boss isn't performing normally. She's not like this usually. It's really strange. That woman's movements are so fast. I didn't even see how she dodged, but boss didn't hit her. Her subordinates were right, Lu Yan was having a hard time. After another round, Lu Yan was slightly out of breath. How is it? Have you had enough fun? If you've had enough fun, then now, it's my turn. After saying that, Layla took the initiative to attack. At that moment, his eyes dazzled Lu Yan. To be honest, it was strange. Lu Yan had to overcome her psychological barrier whenever she was with someone who looked exactly like her sister. He told himself that the person he had hit was not his sister, but someone who looked like his sister. But Layla showed no mercy to Lu Yan. His fists were fast, and his legs were strong as well. After a few moves, Lu Yan's dodging slowed down because the woman's speed was beyond human limits. You won't have more than 2 seconds to catch your breath. Fortunately, Lu Yan was experienced, otherwise, she would have been defeated. Even so, Lu Yan still got punched hard in the ribs. Boss. Lu Yan's subordinates panicked and said in unison. Chapter 40-55. At that moment, Lu Yan heard the sound of her bones breaking. Yes, it was just one punch. Layla punched her. Lu Yan felt that her ribs were breaking, and a piercing pain came from her armpits. But Lu Yan was a warrior and wouldn't fall so easily. So even though she was in excruciating pain, she forced herself to stand up. Not bad. Your ribs are broken, but you don't even frown. Lu Yan, you're indeed awesome. Layla was a little surprised. She had studied Lu Yan's skills. She had seen many of Lu Yan's close combat moves a long time ago. Some were from West Point, some were from Lu Yan on a mission, and some were from fighting in Las Vegas. In short, Layla had seen a lot of Lu Yan's fighting methods in the information she collected. So, she had completely figured out Lu Yan's tactics. However, she admired Lu Yan's strength and stubbornness. The pain of broken ribs was unbearable for ordinary people. Not to mention standing up, even moving would cause excruciating pain. But Lu Yan stood up calmly without saying a word. She was indeed a warrior. Cut the crap, trash. Continue fighting. Lu Yan gestured at Layla with her finger provocatively. All of Lu Yan's subordinates knew her well. She wouldn't admit defeat, and the more she was defeated, the braver she became. At this moment, Layla's watch beeped. She lowered her head, glanced at it, and smiled. My pet dog really betrayed me. TSK TSK. It seems like I really can't waste time. I'm going to find my dog, and my prey. With that, Layla didn't waste any more time and rushed over. She promised to use one hand, and she didn't go back on her word. However, Lu Yan found that even with one hand, she was still no match for Layla. Yes, this thought was terrifying. Lu Yan had been in the mercenary world for many years, but it had been a long time since she met such an opponent. This woman, who looked exactly like his elder sister, had the ability to reach the heavens. Such a person. What was her purpose? She remembered that her father had called her and told her and her brother-in-law not to save her. Could it be that her father already knew about the conspiracy? Was it someone even her father couldn't deal with? At this moment, Lu Yan finally believed that she might have fallen into a trap. A person who looked exactly like his sister, and she also had powerful close combat skills. Wasn't this a conspiracy in itself? Boss doesn't seem to be able to hold on any longer. Should we go and help? On the count of 3, we will fire together and kill all the people on the other side. Lu Yan's soldiers were confident in their marksmanship. Therefore, he planned to take advantage of the fact that his boss was not injured again to suddenly open fire and kill all of them in one go. That woman was flirting with Lu Yan. Lu Yan's subordinates suddenly fired, interrupting the game. Layla's men all fell to the ground. Hee hee. You really can't afford to lose, letting your people play such tricks. Layla laughed sarcastically. There's no need to talk about loyalty when dealing with a scheming person like you. No matter what method you use, it's fine as long as you can kill him. Lu Yan didn't blame her for the sneak attack. Instead, she thought the best way was to kill this woman. However, Lu Yan's subordinates fired at the woman in unison. In an instant, something strange happened. She dodged as fast as a beam of light, making it impossible for people to see her speed and figure clearly. By the time they reacted, Layla was already behind them. I didn't want to kill, but you really pissed me off. Layla smiled strangely. Chapter 40-56. After Layla said that, 2 daggers appeared in her sleeves. She instantly stabbed the daggers into the backs of the 2 men, where their hearts were. Then, she pressed her hands on the heads of the other 2 men and twisted them. The whole process took less than 10 seconds. From 10 meters away, Lu Yan witnessed the whole process of this psycho woman torturing and killing her subordinates. No. No. Lu Yan had deep feelings for these subordinates. Some of them had been with Lu Yan for 6 or 7 years. They were like family to her. Besides, each of them was a top-notch fighter. Yet, just like that, he had been so easily killed by someone. When her subordinates fired, Lu Yan thought this woman was dead for sure. After all, it was the power of 4 submachine guns. However, not only was the woman fast enough to dodge the attack, but she also quickly moved behind them and staged this cruel scene. Their hearts were pierced, and their heads were twisted off. This didn't conform to scientific evidence. Who on earth are you? Lu Yan felt chills down her spine. She even wondered if this woman was not human at all. Was she some kind of monster that had turned into a spirit? This kind of movement and speed was not something a human could achieve. Lu Yan felt that this matter was getting more and more complicated. If only her father was here. Lu Yan even had a feeling that she might die here today. She watched as the psycho woman walked toward her step by step. Lu Yan decided to prepare for the final battle. At this moment, Xiao Fei, who had just entered the border of Yunnan, was already anxious. This had never happened before. It was the first time he had received a call from the professor in so many years. After all, the professor didn't ask him to help Lu Yan when she was in danger. But this time, the professor asked him to come and save her. It could be said that the opponent was very powerful. Because he was a Russian citizen, Xiao Fei entered the border as a businessman with more than a dozen subordinates. They drove 5 Mercedes-Benz off-road vehicles on the border roads. Suddenly, without warning, the string of black Buddhist prayer beads on Xiao Fei's wrist broke, and the beads scattered in the car. "Stop the car!" Xiao Fei shouted with a terrible expression. "What's wrong?" "Young master. I'm going out to get some fresh air," Xiao Fei said and got out of the car in a panic. He had been wearing this string of Buddhist beads for many years, and it had never been a problem. Now that it had suddenly broken without any warning, it was definitely not a good sign. He remembered that when his mother passed away, a piece of jade around his neck shattered without warning. Later on, he heard people say that the jade was something that was protected by the spirit. If it broke for no reason, it was a great misfortune. Sure enough, when his mother passed away, he was sad for a long time. Now that the Buddhist beads were broken, he naturally thought of Lu Yan, whose fate was unknown. He dialed Lu Yan's number but couldn't get through. "Yan, wait for me." Xiao Fei smoked a small Russian cigar by the roadside and quickly got into the car. He strung the scattered beads together and fixed them one by one. According to the location given by the professor, the group quickly moved forward. At this moment, Lu Yan was lying on the grass, dying. His body and head were covered in blood. This woman's moves were not only fast, but her strength was also extraordinary. Lu Yan tried her best, but she was still beaten for 3 minutes. After all, 3 minutes from a master could turn you into a vegetable. Lu Yan felt very sleepy, and her eyelids were heavy. She wanted to sleep, she wanted to have a good sleep, but she still wanted to save her sister. Her sister and her unborn nephew were still waiting for her. Chapter 40-57. On the other side, Qin Chu spent more than 2 hours but still couldn't walk out of the minefield. The minefield Qin Chu was in was densely filled with landmines. There were several times more landmines than the road Lu Yan took. If he wasn't careful, he would be blown to pieces. Therefore, the path that he took with him was exceptionally difficult. Qin Chu kept thinking that Mian deliberately waited for him safely. Tormented by missing his wife, Qin Chu walked carefully step by step. On the other side, Hua Min, Hua Xichen, and Su Yu had already driven to the nearest town. It was a village with less than a dozen families. The houses looked like they would collapse with a gust of wind. "At least we've seen them. Let's go eat something," Su Yu said. "I suggest we continue on our way. It's best to find a town to hide in. This village is too small and our target is too obvious. But, it's dark now. It's difficult to walk. Even if we don't eat, Mian has to eat. She has a child." Su Yu said angrily. He still didn't like Hua Xichen. Even though he saved their lives, Su Yu still looked down on him. "Mian, what do you think?" It was obvious that Hua Xichen was very afraid of Layla. He was really afraid that she would catch up with him. In fact, it didn't matter if he lived or died, but if Huamin returned to Layla's hands, then, I'm a little tired too. The baby moves frequently. Let's take a break. Huamin stood on Su Yu's side. Hua Xiqin smiled and wasn't angry. Okay, we'll listen to you. Let's go find something to eat. After Su Yu parked the car, the three of them got out. Hua Xiqin, about that woman, Shu, for some reason, Hua Xiqin gestured that he didn't want Huamian to mention Layla. However, he felt that Hua Xiqin had his reasons. Seeing his reaction, Huamin did not pursue the matter any further. Su Yu looked at the two of them mysteriously. What are you two talking about? What woman? It's fine. Su Yu, go knock on the door and buy some food. Why don't you go? Su Yu was not convinced. Because I don't have money. Me neither. Su Yu rolled his eyes. But you have a watch. Hua Xiqian pointed at the diamond-studded Patek Philippe in Su Yu's hand and smiled maliciously. Sell mine. My watch is cheap. Huamin couldn't bear to let Su Yu sell his watch, so he took off the limited edition Cartier platinum watch on his wrist. How can I do that? I'm fine. Use mine. I have many watches. Seeing that Huamin was about to take off his watch, Su Yu's heart ached. He walked directly to a farmer's house and knocked on the door. After a long time, a girl who looked about 15 or 16 years old opened the door. Who are you looking for? She sounded timid. Little girl, we're tourists. We got lost here and are very hungry. Can you give us something to eat? The little girl's eyes were very innocent, as if she had never seen anything evil. Don't worry. We won't eat for free. We can give you something valuable in exchange, Su Yu added. Granny, an uncle and his friends said they're tourists. They got lost and are very hungry. Can you give them something to eat? The little girl seemed to be asking an elder in the house. The old lady said something that seemed to be in her hometown language, but Su Yu didn't understand. However, the little girl opened the door and said in a friendly manner, My granny said yes. Come in. Just like that, Su Yu, Hua Xiqian, and Huamin found a place to stay. However, this family was as poor as a church mouse. There was really nothing in the house. The granny was rotten. It was obvious that the little girl and the old lady didn't have a good life. Little girl, is there anything to eat? Su Yu thought that Huamin must be starving. Is corn paste okay? We only have this at home. The child's eyes were still innocent. Su Yu felt sorry for the child. Chapter 40-58. What the hell is corn paste? Su Yu was confused. Actually, he couldn't be blamed. He had never heard of such a thing. Huamin was the most knowledgeable. She hurried over and said in a friendly manner, Okay. Sorry to trouble you, sister. The little girl looked at them eagerly and then went to the kitchen to prepare. Although it was called a kitchen, it was actually very simple. It was just a place connected to the house, and it was cold. The entire house felt dark, and it was a little oppressive and suffocating. In his impression, Su Yu had only seen it on TV, and it was a program about teaching in the mountains. It was hard to imagine that there were still people so poor in society. On the wooden bed in the house, there was a pile of miscellaneous things, and an old granny who looked very old. Her legs were covered with a quilt, and she seemed to be shivering from the cold. This family is really poor, Hua Xiqian commented. Keep your voice down. Huamin couldn't bear to see him like this. I'm telling the truth. Su Yu, the money you spend at night is enough to feed this village for a few years, Hua Xiqian said with sarcasm. President Hua, stop fooling around. The jewelry you buy for a female model is enough to feed these people for half their lives, so you refuse to be outdone. Okay, stop arguing. Does anyone have a phone with them? Huamin thought of something very important. I definitely don't. Suyut spread his hands helplessly. I don't either. Layla would never let me have my own communication device. If I hadn't pretended to be Jack for so long, I would have died long ago. Then will the village have one? I have to call my husband and tell him that I'm safe. Do you think this village, where birds don't lay eggs and rabbits don't shit, will have one? Hua Xiqin sneered. Then what should I do? I'm worried about him. Sister Mian, let's worry about ourselves. I think the person Layla is looking for is you. Hua Xiqin didn't know what Layla's ultimate goal was. However, just by looking at Layla's face that looked exactly like Huamin's, he knew that this matter must have something to do with Huamin. While the three of them were chatting, the little girl was making corn paste. The old lady didn't seem to like interacting with strangers. She hid in the house and refused to come out. Her eyesight didn't seem too good either. The three of them chatted in the west room of the house. The little girl struggled to lift up a small wooden table. Suyu hurriedly got up to help the little girl. Little girl, what's your name? Xiaoling, the girl's voice was very pleasant. You have the same name as Lingling. Huamin smiled when he heard that the name was very similar to Zhu Lingling's. The girl brought 3 small bowls with some thin corn paste in them. Corn paste was actually similar to corn porridge. However, because of the addition of green onions and salt, it had a taste. Therefore, it was a combination of food and drink. This was a method that was almost lost in remote and backward villages. To be honest, it wasn't delicious, but this family seemed to be very poor. There was nothing they could do. Little girl, this is for you. Thank you for giving us food. Suyu didn't go back on his word and took off the Patek Philippe on his wrist. One had to know that when he bought it, it cost more than 1,000,000 yuan because it was a limited edition. Now, even if he went to a pawn shop in a big city or a clock recycling place, he would have to pay at least 200,000 yuan. At the very least, he would have to pay 200,000 yuan. 200,000 yuan was enough to buy a very large building in this small town. No, uncle, take it back. Xiaoling doesn't want it. The little girl hid back in fear. Chapter 40-59. Little girl, we're not bad people. You can sell the watch uncle gave you in the big city. You can get some money and live a better life. Huamin felt that a 15-year-old child should be able to understand these words. No, Grandma said. I can't take things from other people. This is our reward for buying corn paste from you. Is that okay? Huamin whispered to the little girl. Corn paste isn't worth much. We have a lot of corn in our fields. Grandma and I ground a lot of corn paste. It's enough to last us the whole winter. The little girl pointed to a dark corner of the kitchen where there were a few bags of corn flour. Huamin's heart ached when he heard this. You're still growing. You can't just eat this. It's okay, I'm used to it. Hua Xiqian and Su Yu, 2 grown men, felt sad when they heard this. The 2 of them were silent. Okay, we know that little girl is kind. If you don't want it, we won't give it to you. Huamin gave Suyu a look and told him to put away the watch. Why don't you sit down and eat with us? Huamin invited her. The little girl shook her head and pointed to the east room. Big brother, big sister, you guys eat slowly. I'll go in and accompany Grandma. Then, the little girl went into Grandma's room. Huamin looked at Suyu. When we get back, we'll send someone to pick them up. I'll arrange a house for the little girl to continue her studies. She's so pitiful. She has no one to rely on. Yeah, I think so. My heart aches when I hear this. Suyu put away the watch and agreed with Hwamin. Then, the three of them scooped up the shabby-looking corn paste and drank it. Maybe it was because they were starving, but the three of them ate very happily. Afraid that Hwamin didn't have enough, Hwasichen and Suyu only took a few small bites and pushed the rest to Hwamin. You guys go ahead. I really don't have much of an appetite. If it weren't for the baby, I wouldn't have eaten. Hwamin wasn't in the mood because he didn't know what was going on with Lu Yen and Qin Chu. After the meal, it was time to rest. The little girl took 2 worn-out quilts, which seemed to be the only ones in the house. Suyu, go sleep in the car and keep watch. What about you? Of course I'm in the room with little sister Mian. In your dreams. I won't give you the chance to hurt Mian. Get in the car. Suyu began to confront Hwasichen again. Stop arguing, both of you, get out. Hwamin's words calmed the tension between the two once again. All right, I agree. Hearing Hwamin's words, Suyu immediately raised his hand in agreement, afraid that Hwasichen would stick to Hwamin and play tricks on him. TSK. You're so heartless. I haven't seen you in so long, can't we catch up? Hwasichen looked at Hwamin gently with a smile in his eyes. I'm not in the mood to catch up with you right now, but if you talk to me about Layla, I'm willing to talk to you more. Forget it. Hearing Hwamin talk about Layla, Hwasichen frowned and didn't say anything else. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't want to talk about it, but it was about Layla. Hwasichen was left with bad memories. What if his emotions got the better of him and brought out that psycho, Jack? Wouldn't that be the opposite of what he wanted? Therefore, Hwasichen didn't say anything in the end. Instead, he followed Suyu out of the door and into the car. Can we escape? Why do I feel like it's too easy? Is this a trap set by you and that psycho to let us go on purpose? Suyu stared at Hwasichen from the passenger seat and asked. Your imagination is really wild. I think you're more suited to writing novels than running an entertainment company. Hwasichen smiled. Don't you think it's too easy for us to escape? Suyu still felt that something was wrong. Chapter 40-60. Was it easy? If I hadn't hidden for so long and tricked Layla, do you think you guys would have been able to escape? Just because of that idiot Zhao Qingya. And she was so indecisive. Hwasichen's tone was full of contempt and mockery. He couldn't believe that someone as smart as Hwamin was actually willing to believe Zhao Qingya. Perhaps Hwamin really had no choice back then. You and Mian keep talking about Layla. Who is this person? Is she the big boss behind this? Suyu finally couldn't hold back his curiosity. After all, he had only seen Layla once before, and it was when he was unconscious and thought he was in a dream. Therefore, he didn't know that there was a woman who looked exactly like Hwamin. They were so similar that it was strange. The less you know about her, the better. Why? Suyu was confused. For your own good. Suyu, the two men were both deeply in love with Hwamian, so their relationship was a little weird. Although they weren't each other's husbands, they were always secretly competing with each other. Perhaps Suyu was too tired from the recent torture, or perhaps it was because the anesthetic Hwamin gave him was still in effect. In short, he fell asleep after a short while, and he was in a deep sleep. Hwasichen sat in the car, but he wasn't sleepy at all. He didn't dare to sleep. He had to watch the surroundings. If Layla's men caught up, he could escape with Hwamin. Hwasichen never told Hwamin that Layla seemed to have a very powerful watch on her wrist. It could locate Hwamin. Layla had sent Hua Xiqian to chase after them because she had discovered that they had escaped. Layla hadn't moved yet, which meant that she was probably entangled with Lu Yen or Qin Chu. However, he didn't know how long she could last, therefore, Hua Xiqian felt uneasy. Huamin wasn't sleepy at all in the room. The two men left the 2 blankets Ling brought for her. Huamin tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Finally, she got up. She carried a blanket out and walked to the door of the car. Hua Xiqian was a little surprised. "Why are you out? It's cold outside. Go in. I'll give you 2 a blanket. Otherwise, it'll be hard for the rest of the night." Before Hua Xiqian, Huamin opened the car door and put the blanket in. Then, he glanced at Su Yu, who was sound asleep. "Is he asleep?" "Yes, he looks very tired. He hasn't been sleeping well recently." "That psycho Zhao Qingya tortured Su Yu for a long time," Huamin said with heartache. "It's good enough that he's alive. I've been with Layla for so long, but I've never seen anyone captured by her survive. By the way, Xingro is dead." "What?" Huamin was shocked. "Was Xingro really captured by you?" Huamin remembered that Xingro had disappeared for so long that even Secretary Xing couldn't do anything about it. He and President Wu had taken the blame and been fired for no reason. It turned out that it was really this group of people who did it. Hua Xiqian nodded. "Yeah, don't underestimate Xingro. She has a deep background." Layla said that she wanted to use Xingro as a bait to lure out the big tiger above her. And then? Huamin was curious. But Xingro wouldn't say anything. Her boss seems to have a sensitive identity. If I'm not wrong, he's a big figure in Jing City. It's so complicated. Huamin frowned. Layla must have thought of this and captured Xingro. But Xingro wouldn't say anything. In the end, Layla lost her patience and tortured her to death. Xingro's death was tragic, but Hua Xiqian was afraid that Huamin wouldn't be able to bear it, so he downplayed it. "Hua Xiqian, is there a bigger boss behind Layla?" Huamin suddenly asked. Chapter 4061. Why do you ask that? Hua Xiqian smiled and looked at Huamin gently. "Because when I heard you all call her young mistress, I felt that she was at most the second leader. There should be someone more powerful above her." "Yeah, I have the same idea as you. Unfortunately, Layla never mentioned it, and I really don't know anything about it." "What about Jack? Does Jack know?" Huamin suddenly had a thought. "I can't pry into Jack's memories, but he knows my memories. This is the most magical and unfair part of us, so, if you want to know, you have to ask Jack yourself. But that guy is full of lies, so I suggest you don't meet him." Huamian smiled as well. "Maybe I've really become dumb after getting pregnant. I didn't even realize you were Hua Xiqian in the bamboo house. I was wondering why Jack was suddenly so nice to me. I thought he was being nice to me because of his conscience." Yes, when Huamin was in the bamboo building, her mind was filled with thoughts of how to escape or protect Su Yu. She ignored the smallest details. Otherwise, she would have seen through it long ago. Hua Xiqian pretended to be Jack, so much so that even Layla couldn't tell. Only Huamin could tell because Jack looked at Huamin with deep hatred, wanting to tear her apart. However, Hua Xiqian always looked at Huamin with a gentle gaze. Even though he tried his best to pretend to be Jack, that gentle gaze couldn't be changed. "After you got pregnant, you did become stupid and ugly, Huamin." Hua Xiqian looked at Huamin's embarrassed expression and burst into laughter. He almost woke up Su Yu, who was beside him. Fortunately, Su Yu was in a deep sleep. He only turned over and continued to sleep. Mian, I haven't talked to you like this in a long time. I really want to go back to the old days. Hua Xichen sighed. He suddenly missed the days when he worked at the Hua Corporation. Occasionally, she would flirt with Hua Min when she saw him. She would even give him some face masks to please him. She would even personally choose a present for his birthday. But later on, because of his crazy plan, that situation was completely overturned. Hua Xichen should have been the person that Hua Min hated the most in her life, but she didn't hate him. Or rather, she didn't hate him that much. This was also the most complicated and delicate relationship between the two of them. I can't go back. Many things can't go back once they change. Hua Min sighed slightly. She also wanted to go back to the past, but she knew that everything could not go back. I heard. Hui Yanyan is dead. Hua Xichen said casually. It was obvious that he had no feelings for Hui Yanyan, a family member who grew up with him. It was as if he was talking about an outsider. Yeah, she's dead. This time, she's really dead. Hua Min nodded. Success and failure are all caused by the same person. Back then, Hui Yanyan used Shenmingxi's love to do so many stupid things. In the end, she died at Shenmingxi's hands. TSK. How ironic. I'm afraid she didn't even know what was going on until she died. Hua Xichen seemed to know a lot about this matter. You can't say that she died at Shenmingxi's hands. He didn't do it himself. He just used someone else to do it, Hua Min explained calmly. Isn't it the same? What about the child she left behind after she died? Hua Xichen asked. You mean? Tian. Chapter 4062. Yeah, the kid Hui Yanyan left behind. He's still with Shenmingxi, but he was sent to another city to study. Shenmingxi and Wei Ying got back together. Shenmingxi will cry in the future if he doesn't get rid of the root of the problem. Hua Xichen smiled wickedly. You don't like the kid either. Hua Min knew Hua Xichen's words were crude, but they made sense. You know the kid's temperament better than anyone else. She's old when she's 3. Just wait and see. When she grows up, she'll be a bitch even worse than her mother. That's not for us to worry about. When she grows up, we'll all be old. Hua Min smiled. When she smiled, there was a smile in her eyes, which made Hua Xichen's heart skip a beat. He reached out his hand to touch Hua Mian's face, but Hua Mian instinctively took a step back to avoid him. Mian, why don't you run away with me? I'll take care of your son for Qin Chu. I'll treat you and your son well for the rest of your life. Hua Xichen didn't sound like he was joking. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't want to be imprisoned on a deserted island by you anymore. Hua Min answered his question in a joking tone, so it wouldn't be so awkward. We won't go to a deserted island anymore. We'll go wherever you want us to go. Switzerland, Finland, Denmark, Norway. We'll go to a place where no one knows us. But I have nothing now. I don't have money or power. All I have left is my undying loyalty to you. Hua Xichen smiled self-deprecatingly. You can't run out of money. I care about money the most. My son and I must live a good life. So, don't run away with us. It's too tiring. It'll be better if we don't starve. Hua Min also smiled. If only this child was mine. Hua Xichen glanced at Hua Min's stomach and suddenly asked. Hua Xichen was particularly talkative tonight. In fact, the conversation between the two of them tonight was a kind of harmony and calmness that had never happened in the past 20 years. At first, Hua Min didn't know what he meant. He thought that he was just old and had become long-winded after experiencing so many things. Later on, she realized that it was the last time in her life. Her conversation with Hua Xiqian was truly the last time. Because after that night, she would never have such a chance again. Never again. The moon tonight is so round. Huamin looked up at the sky awkwardly. Because she didn't want to continue the conversation with Hua Xiqian. It was too awkward. Seeing her evasive attitude, Hua Xiqian chuckled softly. Then, he jumped out of the car in a clean and efficient manner. Without any warning, he squatted down and tied Huamin's shoelaces for her. Huamin didn't move. His body was a little stiff. You're going to be a mother again, but you're still so careless. Southside has always said that you're a serious, responsible, and meticulous doctor. I strongly doubt that. After tying the shoelaces, Hua Xiqian stood up and laughed at Huamin. Thank you. No matter what, Hua Xiqian meant well, so Huamin didn't say anything hurtful. The night was unusually quiet. In this remote mountain village, Hua Xiqian and Huamin reminisced a lot about the past under the starry sky. Huamin completely forgot that he was being hunted down. In Sea City. After Su Yu's accident, Lady Su didn't go to work. She stayed at home and washed her face with tears. When Han Yueyao came to visit, the maid took her directly to the bedroom. She saw the haggard Lady Su. Auntie. Han Yueyao said sadly. Chapter 4063. Yao Yao, why are you here? Yeah, I don't have rehearsals today, so I came to see you. Han Yueyao was a down-to-earth child. She was well-mannered and well-educated. She didn't come empty-handed, even though she knew the Su family didn't lack anything. But she still bought some fresh fruits and a box of donkey-hide gelatin for Lady Su out of courtesy. Sit down, I'll go tidy up. Lady Su was a well-mannered woman. Seeing a guest, she pulled herself together to freshen up. It wasn't Han Yueyao's first time at the Su family's old mansion. But it was her first time visiting alone. To be honest, she struggled for a long time. Maybe she wouldn't be welcomed, or maybe Lady Su would be too sad to talk to her. Her visit might not make Madame Su feel better. She thought about it for a long time. In the end, she decided to visit Lady Su. Su Yu's disappearance should be the saddest for the Su family. And the saddest would always be the mother. As a mother, she and her child were the most connected. Lady Su quickly tidied up and changed into a dark green velvet cheongsam. She smiled elegantly and led Han Yueyao to the living room downstairs. The maid prepared some tea, snacks, and fruits. Auntie, and Lord Su. They're back in Jing City. Then, about President Su, you know about it. Lady Su looked at Han Yueyao and guessed it. Yeah, I forced in. He told me everything. Han Yueyao lowered her head guiltily. Our Yu has been through a lot. Mrs. Su's eyes turned red as tears welled up in her eyes. Han Yueyao immediately reached out and placed her hand on the back of Lady Su's hand. Auntie, President Su will come back safely. Sister Mian went to save him, and so did President Qin. Yeah, with Mian and Chu there, I'm relieved. I really hope he'll be fine. Every time something happened to Su Yu, Mrs. Su would be the saddest person in the world. Auntie, you have to take care of yourself. Don't make President Su worry. I will. I can still hold on. His father and grandfather, on the other hand, have to continue to be busy because of work. They have unspeakable bitterness in their hearts. Sorry for troubling you. Yao Yao, how have you been? I've been following Dancing Allure. You're about to enter the finals, right? Yeah, the finals are this weekend. Are you sure you can win? Lady Su asked with a gentle smile. I'm not sure. You. Why are you so unconfident? Lady Su smiled through her tears. She felt helpless at Han Yueao's honesty. Auntie, I'm not being modest or not confident. The point is that my opponents are too strong. They all danced very well. I've always thought that I was just lucky. Besides, I've also taken advantage of Yuan Bo's popularity. He has a lot of fans who have been buying votes for us. Otherwise, I would have been eliminated long ago. So, I really don't dare to think about being the champion. Who said so? I think you dance very well. You're very hardworking. Last time when your foot was injured, you still persisted. You're scary when you're stubborn. Yeah, President Su and I are quite alike in this aspect. We're both stubborn donkeys. After saying that, Han Yueao felt it was inappropriate and immediately corrected herself. No. I mean, I'm a stubborn donkey. President Su. He's not. Seeing Han Yueao's cute appearance, Lady Su's mood improved inexplicably. Yao. If you comes back safely, are you still willing to be the daughter-in-law of the Su family? Lady Su changed the topic, making Han Yueao's cheeks flush. Chapter 4064. Auntie, it's not a matter of whether I'm willing or not. Yao, tell me first. Do you like Ryu? Perhaps Lady Su was the most honest mother in the world and was worried sick about her son's marriage. Han Yueao raised her hand and rubbed the tip of her nose. She really couldn't bring herself to say it. Lady Su's gaze was so intense. Auntie, I do, like Su Yu. Han Yueao closed her eyes and gritted her teeth. Finally, for the first time, she admitted her feelings for Su Yu so openly. It was like a child who had hidden a secret for a long time and finally told it to her parents. It was the kind of embarrassment, shyness, and anxiety. After hearing this, Mrs. Su smiled sweetly. It's Ryu's fortune to be liked by such a good girl like Yao. Auntie, don't say that. Su Yu is too outstanding. I'm not good enough for him. Whether it's his family background, education, or other aspects, I'm too inferior. Han Yueao knew that from the beginning of this relationship, she had been at a disadvantage and felt inferior. This was also the reason why she had always secretly liked Su Yu but never wanted to confess her feelings to him. Just as she had said to Su Xiaoxiao before, she knew her own worth. Unlike the female artists at Imperial Star, once they became famous, they became arrogant and thought that they were the crown princess of the Su family and the lady boss of Imperial Star. Silly girl, what era are we living in now? In the Republic of China, it's all about mutual affection. How can there be so many couples of equal social status? Besides, even if you're from a prestigious family, not all of you have a good character. At first, I only hoped that Yu's wife wouldn't be in the entertainment industry in the future. After all, that industry is too complicated and I wanted to be more innocent. But now, you've already stepped into the entertainment industry and debuted. You even have your own fans, but that doesn't affect my judgment of your character. I've lived for a long time, and I can tell that you're a good girl, Yao. Auntie, I'm very touched by your recognition of me. You said that love is about mutual love. I like Su Yu, but Su Yu doesn't seem to like me. You know, in his heart, in his heart, there must be a woman of his own, Lady Su interrupted. Han Yueao was silent. Yao, if you comes back safely this time, I'll try my best to set you up. No. Auntie, I beg you, please don't. President Su is a man who yearns for freedom and does whatever he wants. I don't want him to be tied down. Besides, I've made up my mind that if he comes back safely, I'll confess my love to him. If he rejects me, I won't give up. I'll show him the persistence he has for Sister Mian. I believe one day, I'll be able to move him, right? You're such a tearjerker. Lady Su almost burst into tears when she heard Han Yueyao's words. She was surprised that the girl was so thoughtful. Han Yueyao suddenly changed the topic and said, I want to say something ominous. Auntie, please don't blame me. I'm just telling you what I think, okay? Okay. Tell me. I can take anything now. Lady Su smiled through her tears. Chapter 4065. Han Yueyao licked her dry lips and took a deep breath. Then she sat down across from Lady Su and looked at her as she said word by word, Auntie, if Suyu doesn't come back, or even, can't come back in the future, I'm willing to undergo artificial insemination and give birth to a child for him. Hearing this, Lady Su was completely shocked. I know that President Su has frozen sperm in the hospital. There have been many women who wanted to use this method to get pregnant, but none of them succeeded because the person who authorized it was you. I've never thought of using this method to get pregnant, but if one day President Su really can't come back for some reason, I think that at that time, I'm willing to give birth to a child for him to continue his life. Of course, I definitely won't use this to threaten the Su family, enter the Su family, or accumulate wealth. Because I don't have any desire for wealth and those aren't what I want. I always feel that if I truly love someone, I have to do something for them. Just like how President Su treated Sister Mian. He's done so much for her over the years. President Su did his best to protect Sister Mian, so I'll do my best to protect President Su. Lady Su didn't speak, but tears flowed down her cheeks uncontrollably. When the time comes, whether it's a boy or a girl, I'll leave a child for him. When the child is born, I'll bring it to you. As for me, I just want to see him often. Of course. Auntie, I didn't mean to curse President Su not to come back. I was just saying if. Please don't overthink it. Seeing Lady Su's strange mood, Han Yueyao hurried to explain. She blamed herself for being a jinx. Why did she say that Suyu wouldn't come back? Lady Su grabbed Han Yueyao's hand excitedly. You've really opened my eyes today. I've never seen anyone as stupid as you. He's gone, and you still want to have a child. Tell me, are you stupid? You're still an unmarried girl, why do you have to humiliate yourself like this? Isn't this humiliating? This is the after effect of love. Han Yueyao smiled shyly. Lady Su's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Let's not talk about this. I'm willing to let you give birth to children for the Su family, but not through artificial insemination. I want you to give birth to a healthy baby. When the time comes, you can have a few more children. I plan to open a separate kindergarten for them. Hearing his words, Han Yueyao giggled. Lady Su also had a pure and innocent side. People who loved Suyu deeply were all so emotional and kind. When she came back from the Su family, she felt relaxed. She felt that she had more or less comforted Auntie Su, making her not so sad anymore. Yuan Bo was still chasing after Han Yueyao. Even on Weibo, they would often post ambiguous sentences to mislead fans into thinking that they were in a relationship. A notification popped up on WeChat. She opened it immediately, afraid that it was from Suyu. She didn't have time to reply. It turned out to be Su Xiaoxiao, who was still talking about old times. She posted a photo of herself wearing a military uniform. There seemed to be a blurry figure of a man behind her, who was also wearing a military uniform. What's going on? Xiao. It's what you see. This is my current platoon leader. Isn't he handsome? Are you serious? So fast. Han Yueyao teased. Fast. I've been looking for him for more than a month. Ha, I finally found a good one. By the way, what about you? I heard that you're in a relationship with a male celebrity. Stop gossiping. I'm not. That guy isn't my cup of tea. Then do you have a chance with my uncle? Did you kiss? Did you sleep with him? Su Xiaoxiao asked directly. Chapter 4066. No, no. Don't talk bad about your uncle. He's a good man. Now that Su Yu wasn't here, Han Huiyao didn't want to tease Su Yu, even if it was just a joke. Whoa. Can't you take a joke? You're so infatuated with my uncle. Don't talk nonsense. Han Yueyao was embarrassed. Fine. You're such a coward. By the time you confess your love to him, my uncle will be celebrating his 66th birthday. Ha. Anyway, you'll be happy as long as you can get him in your life. Su Xiaoxiao always liked to talk nonsense, and Han Yueyao was used to it. Xiaoxiao. Are you really in love? Han Yueyao asked again. Yeah. What about Lin Hang? Have you forgotten him completely? Han Yueyao thought Xiaoxiao was a very affectionate person. She had loved Lin Hang for a long time and loved him deeply. In the end, she went to the Northwest Army. It had only been a few months, how could she forget everything? Yao Yao, give me some time. The past is the past. I can't just live in the memories of the past. After I came to the Northwest and joined the army, I realized that love is nothing in front of the country. I was too narrow-minded before. Now that I'm a soldier and have a sense of mission and responsibility, I realize that there are actually many things in this world that are far more important than love, such as our friendship. Fine. Don't make me cry. Han Yueyao was a little touched. Ha ha ha. Okay. I'll talk to you later. You have high-intensity training. Yao, good luck. I have faith in you. I look forward to the day when I can call you auntie. After chatting with Su Xiaoxiao on WeChat, Han Huiyao was worried again. He had been gone for so long without any news. Would President Su come back safely? And Sister Mian, she was pregnant. How could she take such a risk? Han Yueyao suddenly felt inferior. As a latecomer, she couldn't fit into that circle. She couldn't surpass the relationships between Huamin and Su Yu, Qin Chu and Gao Ran. She picked up her cell phone and dialed Anne's number. Miss Han. Shaoan, is there any news? Not yet. Oh, you must tell me immediately if you have any news, okay? Okay, don't worry. As long as there's news about President Su, I'll definitely tell you. Yes, thank you. Then she hung up the phone. Early morning, the small mountain village was filled with the fragrance of sufficient oxygen and soil. Huamin could only see the haze in the big city, but he could not feel it. The air is so fresh. Huamin stretched himself tiredly and then got up to check his watch. It was only 6:00 in the morning. The sky outside had just begun to brighten. Sister, are we still eating corn paste today? Xiaoling woke up very early. She walked in quietly and asked in a low voice. Huamin heard from her yesterday that there was only corn paste at home. Sure, the corn paste is delicious. I'll cook it with Xiaoling. Huamin stood up. Don't. You're pregnant and can't work. I can do it myself. The little girl was very sensible. It was said that children of poor families matured early. She didn't ask Huamin to help her. Wearing thin clothes, she began to cook breakfast for everyone. Huamian didn't feel good as she looked at her thin back. She had been thinking that as long as she could get home safely, she would pick up the grandmother and granddaughter. It was fate that brought them together. At this moment, Hua Xiqian walked in and glanced at Huamin. "We should go." Chapter 4067. Isn't it too early? It's just dawn. We should at least eat before leaving. Huamin felt that Hua Xiqian was a little anxious. "I don't have a good time. I have a bad feeling. That feeling has never failed all these years. It's a very dangerous feeling. I think Layla's people should be catching up soon. I don't know what method she used, but she can indeed see your location. Right now, we're hoping to run to a town, a place with communication, or an army. After all, with Su Yu's identity, it'll be safer to seek the protection of the army." "That's serious." "It'll only be more serious than we thought, so let's go." "Don't eat breakfast first. Running is more important." "All right." Huamin nodded. He wanted to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, the pursuers would arrive soon. If he implicated the grandfather and grandson pair, he would feel too guilty. Layla was an extreme pervert who killed without batting an eye. If she really killed the grandfather and grandson pair because of her, Huamin would definitely not feel good. Thinking about it this way, he felt that Hua Xiqian's words made sense. Huamin got up and packed up before bidding farewell to the little girl and the old granny. Although he did not say much to the old granny from the beginning to the end, Huamin knew that they were good people. Su Yu was still a little confused at first. After all, he was in a daze from his sleep. After Huamin gave a simple explanation, the three of them hurried on their way. Before Huamin left, he asked about the location and name of the village again and again. He planned to send someone to pick up Xiaoling in the future. Perhaps it was because Hua Xiqian sensed danger, but this time, he actually let Siyut sit in the front passenger seat while he drove. The car drove very fast, exceeding the speed limit all the way. The three of them did not speak in the car. Everyone knew that this path of escape would not be easy to traverse. After running for about an hour, Siyu was the first to speak. "It seems like we need to work harder. We can't run far. Looks like it's not easy to find a gas station here." Huamin looked around. Other than mountains, there were more mountains. "According to the map, we'll pass by a small service area in 40 minutes. There will definitely be gas stations there. We can also buy some food and continue on our way," Hua Xiqian said. "But we don't have any money." Su Yu was very embarrassed. He used to think that money was endless, but now he was embarrassed because of money. As the old saying goes, a single penny stumps a hero. "It's okay, you have a watch." Hua Xiqian smiled. "Fuck, you're at it again." Su Yu glared at him. The two of them seemed to be born at odds. Whenever they spoke, they would bicker. In the end, Huamin couldn't be bothered to intervene. Huamin sat in the back. Perhaps he was too tired from the bumpy ride, so he fell asleep in a daze. In her dream, she saw an extremely bloody scene. Lu Yan's black windbreaker was soaked with blood. She lay on the ground in the forest, dying. Blood dripped from her forehead. Her eyes were closed, and her face was pale. "Sis. Help me," she said weakly. Yen. Yen, what's wrong?" Huamin wanted to run over and help Lu Yan up, but before he could, the scene changed. She saw a woman who looked exactly like her hugging Qin Chu. Qin Chu's expression was wooden as he let the woman hug him. "Honey," she called him honey. "Qin Chu, that's not me. That's not me. Don't believe her." Huamin woke up from the nightmare, screaming. She touched her forehead and was drenched in sweat. Mian, what's wrong? Su Yu and Hua Xiqian turned around at the same time, worried. Chapter 4068. Huamin froze for a moment before coming back to his senses. I just had a nightmare. I dreamed that Yan and my husband were in danger. Huamin felt his heart pounding wildly as if the dream was too real and really scared him. Dreams are the opposite of reality. Don't worry. Lu Yan and Qin Chu have probably beaten that bitch into a meat patty by now. From the beginning to the end, Siu had only seen Layla once. However, he thought that it was just a dream. It was just a hallucination that appeared because he was confused by his high fever. So, Su Yu was the only woman who didn't know that Layla and Huamin looked exactly like each other. After hearing Huamin and Hua Xiqian mention it a few times, he guessed that the woman named Layla was the mastermind and a big bad person. I hope so. Mian, have some water. Su Yu handed him a bottle of mineral water. Huamin took it and took a sip, still looking worried. Are you all hungry? Hold on a little longer. We're almost at the service area. It's okay. I can hold on. Huamin didn't want to be a burden to everyone, so although he felt a little uncomfortable, he gritted his teeth and held on. She knew that if Layla's men caught up with them, not to mention her and Su Yu, Hua Xiqian would be dead for sure. If Layla found out that he had pretended to be Jack and lied to her for a long time, she would probably want to tear his body into pieces. At this thought, Layla felt sick again. On the other side, Layla looked at the dying Lu Yan and smiled contemptuously. TSK, TSK. So this is your strength. The leader of the mercenary world, the goddess of the assassin world, and the invincible war goddess. You're really good at bragging. Lu Yan, you really disappoint me. Shut your stinky mouth. Do you believe that I'll blow you up? Lu Yan said a few words with difficulty. Everyone who knew Lu Yan knew she was an explosive genius. According to Professor Lu, when Lu Yan was 3 years old, she could make more than 10 kinds of bombs, which were very powerful. The older she got, the more she learned. These were not taught by the professor. The father and daughter had only been on the run all these years. The professors didn't have a chance to teach her, but Lu Yan did have the talent. She might be able to learn things that others would take 10 years to learn in a few hours. That was why she was already a peerless expert in her early 20s. He was the famous Interpol, the most wanted criminal, and a figure that gave terrorists headaches. But at this moment, she was lying on the ground in a sorry state, feeling her life slipping away. Lu Yan knew she was doomed this time because the woman in front of her wasn't human. Although Lu Yan was an atheist, she never believed in ghosts and gods. However, this woman's actions and abilities had indeed exceeded the limits of a human. This was illogical. Lu Yan had been with her father for a long time, so she knew this very well. At the last moment, she wanted to use a bomb that she had carried with her for many years to ignite this place. Then, he would perish together with this female monster. But, are you looking for your miniature bomb? Layla had a rice-sized object in her hand. Why, do you have it? Lu Yan looked at her in horror. It was something that had been embedded in her skin and flesh. It would only appear when her body exploded and self-ignited. But why was it in the woman's hands? I have to say, the bomb you developed is really good. But if you want to use it to blow me up, it's a bit stupid. Layla held the little thing and looked at it with interest. Her words had indeed destroyed Lu Yan's last hope of perishing together. I lost. I admit defeat. Kill me. Lu Yan was still arrogant. Chapter 4069. You want to die? It's not that easy. Lu Yan blacked out and didn't know anything. When she woke up, it was a long time later. Young madam, what should we do with the other side? Should we shoot them all? One of her subordinates asked cautiously. Shoot them all? Who gave you the guts? Layla, who was wearing a golden mask, turned her head abruptly. She gripped the man's neck tightly and broke his collarbone instantly. It happened in an instant, so her explosive force was even greater than Lu Yan's. Of course, she knew who they were talking about. While she dealt with Lu Yan quickly, Qin Chu was clearing mines on the other side of the road carefully. How long will it take for them to cross the minefield? Layla asked impatiently as she played with her nails. In about 10 minutes, they'll cross the last minefield. Okay. Send Gonger over. Young madam, what should we do? Kill them or keep them alive? When they saw their accomplice say something wrong and get his throat cut by Layla in an instant, everyone was terrified. They were afraid that they would do something wrong. Layla paused for a moment and continued. Just let him try his best. If Qin Chu can't even beat my Gonger, then I don't think there's any reason for me to continue playing with him. I don't like weaklings. Weaklings shouldn't exist in this world. Okay, young madam. I'll go and tell them. Indeed, Qin Chu led more than a dozen people through the last minefield carefully. He was a little excited that he might be able to see his Mian soon. However, a man stood at the end of the bamboo forest. He was tall and strong, and his physique was comparable to that of a Japanese sumo wrestler. On such a cold day, he was shirtless and wore a pair of wide-legged black pants. His long hair was tied into a black bun like that of a Taoist priest. As soon as Qin Chu saw this person, he immediately became alert. Qin Chu's subordinate was too impatient and raised his gun to shoot at the man. The man dodged slightly and dodged the bullet. Furthermore, the person who fired the shot was suddenly shot in the head, then, he fell to the ground. Qin Chu frowned slightly and looked around. He immediately understood that there were snipers lying in ambush. If he wasn't careful, his head might explode at any time. Without waiting for Qin Chu to speak, the big man had already spoken. Brat, our master said that if you beat me, I'll let you pass. Otherwise, you and your subordinates will all die here. You have no other choice. Qin Chu's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, that was the case. President Qin, let's go all out. We have a lot of people. We'll cover you while you run, one of Qin Chu's loyal subordinates whispered to him. Don't even think about running away. There are already 30 snipers around, and there are only 10 of you. That is to say, we can use 1 second to shoot, and hit each of you with 2 bullets. With such a probability, do you really want to try it? The man mocked. Qin Chu didn't think that he was a good-for-nothing. Perhaps he could try his luck. However, among the dozen people he brought with him, some were his own people and some were Lu Yan's people. He didn't want to implicate these people and cause them to die here with him. So, in the end, even if it was a trap, Qin Chu had no other choice. He put down the gun in his hand and handed it to the people behind him. Don't act rashly. Wait for me here. President Qin, I'm fine. Qin Chu walked up to the big man, reached out his hand, and slowly took off his black jacket. 1-on-1. Come on, let's play. Qin Chu smiled wickedly, his eyes filled with unprecedented wildness. Chapter 4070. Qin Chu had expected that this trip would be full of difficulties. Especially after the call from the professor, he was even more careful. The professor knew Lu Yan's strength the best, but even he said that this trip would be dangerous. Then, even if they encountered any difficulties, they wouldn't be surprised, right? With this mentality, Mion used to say that they would deal with whatever came their way. Now, in order to save his wife and Su Yu, Chin Chu had to charge forward. However, based on his years of intuition, this big blockhead wasn't easy to deal with. Logically speaking, Chin Chu was nimble and agile. Plus, he was more than 180 centimeters tall, which gave him an advantage. However, this big guy was about 2 meters tall and had an extremely tall and sturdy body. He was like a little giant. If he was hit by him, it would be hard for him to get up. So, from the beginning, Chin Chu had never had a love rival. When the blockhead walked, the ground would emit thumping sounds. With Chin Chu's order, the subordinates behind him didn't dare to act rashly. They could only watch the battle carefully and anxiously. That guy looks like a big monster. He doesn't look like a fucking human. Not only is he so tall, but he's also so fat. One of the subordinates muttered. Yeah, President Chin, this battle doesn't look easy. We have to keep an eye on him. Boss didn't send us here for nothing. Even if we die, we can't let President Chin get hurt. Don't worry, you guys. President Chin is still very strong. Maybe we'll win. Didn't that person say that if President Chin wins, he'll let us in? In the end, everyone decided to wait and see. Chin Chu waved his hand provocatively at the big blockhead. The big monster charged over angrily and punched Chin Chu in the head. He thought that since he was tall and strong, he should be a little slow. Unfortunately, Chin Chu didn't expect this. This big monster wasn't slow. His punches were very fast and his movements were very clean. If this was the case, it really wouldn't be easy to fight. The big monster kept attacking in a state of rage. Those who have seen the Hulk should know how terrible that kind of destructive power with anger is. Chin Chu didn't make a sound for the time being. He just wanted to hide and use this opportunity to figure out the big monster's tricks. However, the big monster seemed to be very energetic. It kept attacking without stopping. Chin Chu didn't even have a chance to catch his breath, so after 5 minutes, he was already panting. In the monitoring interface, Layla looked at all of this and smiled. He can't take it anymore. Gonger is a very energetic man. If Chin Chu keeps dodging, he'll be stomped into meat paste by Gonger when he's exhausted. Layla's analysis was right. If Chin Chu continued to dodge, it was indeed not the best plan. Chin Chu himself had also discovered this, so when the fight lasted for 8 minutes, he had already made a decision. Seizing the opportunity, he immediately kicked out, wanting to trip this big monster first. Unfortunately, he stumbled, but he didn't fall. This big monster was unexpectedly strong. With a kick, Chin Chu fell to the ground. Then, the big monster raised his foot and stomped hard on Chin Chu's chest. The scene was very intense. President Chin, be careful. His subordinates behind him panicked and wanted to rush up. Fortunately, Chin Chu reacted very quickly. He rolled on the ground and dodged the fatal kick. Then, he quickly got up. The whole process took no more than 3 seconds, and his reaction was quite amazing. He had to thank the professional brain development and reaction speed training he had received from his tutor at the Harvard Medical School when he was studying medicine. If Chin Chu weren't here today, he might have been stomped to death on the spot. Watching the monitoring screen, Layla laughed out loud. Do you guys want to place your bets? Guess how long he can last. Layla seemed to be in an extremely good mood. She liked watching this kind of battle between strong masters, or rather, a life and death struggle. Chapter 4071. The person behind Layla laughed. I think the fight will end in 3 minutes. I think Gonger will flatten this guy in 5 minutes. I think Gonger will kill his prey in 2 minutes. These people were very clear about the fighting strength of this monster. In the past few years, they had been very clear about the fighting strength of this monster. Layla had found him in Mongolia a few years ago and brought him back to transform him. Then, he was almost invincible in the past few years. Whether it was fighting in the black market in Thailand or participating in those inhuman and cruel finals in Las Vegas, he was a killer machine. He had already become a killing machine. Killing people was as simple as squashing an ant to him. Maybe it was because he had killed too many people, but Gonger's temper was getting worse. That was why he got angrier and angrier during the fight. Especially when his opponent didn't fall, it would arouse his desire to kill. This was what Layla liked most about him. Watching him compete and torturing his opponents was like a spiritual feast. Therefore, these people were very confident in Gonger. Layla, on the other hand, smiled sweetly, showing a smile that only Huamin would have. I bet that person will defeat Gonger. Her subordinates fell silent. They were suspicious and doubtful, but no one dared to say anything. After all, they didn't want to anger this crazy woman. Gonger was impatient when he saw Chin Chu still dodging. His voice became louder and louder, like a roaring beast. He seemed to have lost his patience. His movements were faster and stronger. If this continued, Chin Chu's fight would become more and more difficult. Therefore, Chin Chu decided to take the initiative. He went behind the monster and punched his waist. Chin Chu used all his strength in this punch. Even a tiger would feel pain from this punch. However, the monster didn't seem to feel anything. He grabbed Chin Chu and threw him away. After being thrown, Chin Chu lost his balance and fell heavily to the ground. He only felt that his internal organs were beginning to ache. However, he didn't have time to rest because the monster was running toward him. If he didn't get up, he would be trampled to death. Chairman Chin, please get up. That big monster is so strange. It was punched by President Chin, but nothing happened to it. It's too scary. Is it because its muscles are too solid? Who knows? If only Boss was here. He could just blow up that big monster with explosives. Damn it. One of Liu Yan's subordinates cursed indignantly. Come on, there are so many snipers around. Even if Boss is here, he wouldn't dare to use explosives. He can only fight with his bare hands. At first, I thought that President Chin was just the boss of a corporation and was just a businessman. His skills might just be some fancy moves taught by some taekwondo organization. But looking at President Chin's tactics just now, it's very nimble. He seems to have practiced martial arts for many years. This time, Liu Yan's subordinates witnessed the man's power. Chin Chu usually kept a low profile, so no one knew his true strength. Therefore, sometimes, gold had to be tested with fire. If it had been an ordinary martial artist, they would have died several times over after just a few minutes of teaching with this monster. However, Chin Chu was able to hold on until now. They had to admit that he was very strong. Now they understood why even the arrogant Liu Yan had to call Chin Chu brother-in-law politely. Even the arrogant Xiao Fei had to call Chin Chu brother politely. When Chin Chu stood up again, he was obviously not as agile as before. If this continues, I'm going to die. At this moment, this was his inner monologue. Chapter 4072. As Layla watched this exciting battle, she found it more and more interesting. When she brought Gonger back, she cut off his pain nerves with her own hands. In other words, even if you stabbed him with a knife, he wouldn't feel any pain. If he didn't feel any pain, it wouldn't affect his overall mood. This was the secret to winning every battle. He couldn't feel the damage Qin Chu did to him. However, Qin Chu could feel the damage he did to Qin Chu. This was also one of the most unfathomable aspects of the situation. However, Layla believed that she wouldn't be wrong about men. Qin Chu wasn't an ordinary person. He would probably prepare a big move and kill Gonger instantly. Sure enough, just as she thought of this, then, he saw that the style on the screen had changed. Qin Chu stopped attacking Gonger, but he kept teasing him. Like a mouse teasing a cat, Gonger became even angrier and roared. After making Gonger dizzy, Qin Chu found an opportunity and flew up. He poked at Gonger's eyes. Perhaps she didn't expect Qin Chu's jumping ability to be so high that he could directly fly up. Therefore, this big monster wasn't prepared at all. Gonger's eyes were poked hard just like that. Although he couldn't feel any pain, his eyes immediately became blurry and kept bleeding. Like a trapped beast, he rammed around and screamed even more miserably. His screams echoed in the forest, making people shudder. Qin Chu seemed to have looked at him for a long time before he found his weakness. His whole body was very hard, and hitting him was like scratching an itch. There were only two weak spots. One was his eyes, and the other was his lower body. Qin Chu had never been such a despicable person, so he gave up on attacking his lower body and attacked the big monster's eyes directly. His intuition told him that he was on the wrong side. After the big monster lost his sight, he rammed around and couldn't hurt Qin Chu anymore. Qin Chu thought that the battle was over, and those people would take the big monster away for treatment. Unexpectedly, there was a sudden burst of gunfire. The snipers hidden in the surroundings fired at the big monster. The bullets came from all directions like raindrops. They could only watch as this big monster was slaughtered into a sieve by its own companions. And then, he fell to the ground with a loud thud. It was a ghastly sight. In China, in such a peaceful era, in such a safe society ruled by law, there was a price to pay for killing a person. Therefore, Qin Chu and Qin Chu's subordinates were shocked. Qin Chu was shocked at how cruel these people were to their own people. In front of the surveillance camera. Young Lord, Gonger is dead. Useless trash, of course I can't keep him. I don't raise trash. His eyes were blinded by Qin Chu, so his death is also a kind of relief. Young Lord, you're right. Then, what should we do with Qin Chu and the others? Let them in. Isn't he looking for his wife? Will young mistress meet him? These people thought that young mistress seemed to be interested in Qin Chu and wanted to meet him. Yes, but not now. Now we should go and catch the prey that ran out. Layla stood up, twisting her slender waist with a faint smile on her lips. On the other side, Hua Xiqian drove fast and soon arrived at the gas station shown on the map. When they were about 500 meters away from the service area, Hua Xiqian suddenly stopped the car. I'll go and check the situation. If it's not dangerous, you guys go there. If the situation is not good, Suyu, you take Mian and run. The car is out of gas. Where can we run? Suyu rolled his eyes at him. Run along the mountain road into the mountains. Remember, even if you starve to death in the mountains, you can't let Layla take you back, Hua Xiqian said seriously and walked toward the service area alone. Chapter 4073. After Hua Xiqian walked to the service area, only Hua Min and Suyu were left in the car. Mian, are you hungry? I'm fine. It's okay. We'll have food soon. I used to think instant noodles were disgusting. Now, if you give me a bowl of hot instant noodles, I'll eat a bowl of soup. Ha! To relieve his stress, Suyu made Hua Min laugh. Hua gave him face and smiled. To be honest, I didn't think I'd come out alive. What are you talking about? I told you you'd be fine, Hua comforted Suyu. After I went missing, my mom must have been worried sick. Yeah. Auntie was very sad. Lord Su and Mr. Su were also very angry. And must have been dumbfounded. Shaoan blamed himself. He always felt that he didn't do his job to protect you. It had nothing to do with him. That night, even if An was there, we would have been kidnapped. Besides, An has no value. Maybe he would have been killed by that bitch Xiao Qingya. Yeah. I told him the same thing. But he's under a lot of pressure. He won't be able to get over it unless you come back safely. Yeah. Suyu nodded. After you went missing this time, there was another person who reacted quite strongly. Hua brought up the topic on purpose. Who? Suyu was puzzled. Yao Yao. Oh, you mean Han Yueyao. Suyu finally understood. Yeah. I didn't tell her the truth. I only told her you were on a business trip. But she didn't believe me and kept sending you WeChat messages. She's afraid I won't pay her when I'm not around. She's such a money grubber. Suyu chuckled. You know she's not that kind of person. She's just worried about you. I'm fine, aren't I? I wonder how that girl is doing in the competition. Suyu thought about the reality show. The finals should be coming up in the next few days. She hopes that you can go back and watch her finals. If I go back, I'll definitely go. After all, she's just a member of the company. Of course, I have to support her. Suyu, your feelings for her, could it be? Before Hua could finish speaking, he saw Hua Xichen wave his hand. Oh, looks like you're fine. Let's go and eat. Suyu carefully helped Hua out of the car. Then, the two slowly walked toward the service area. Suyu, why do I feel like something is wrong? Hua whispered as he walked. What happened? I don't know. I just feel that something's not right. I keep feeling that this place is very strange. Why don't we leave and not eat here? Hua looked around and saw that they were surrounded by mountains. This was really a desolate and remote place with few people. The most important thing was that it was already daybreak, and there were still clouds surrounding the area. Logically speaking, there should be birds and small animals in such a large forest. However, it was eerily quiet. Hua had a feeling that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Hearing that she was leaving, Suyu was surprised. Hua Xichen, this is the nearest service area. If we don't refuel, the car won't last long. Hua Xichen just looked at the map. The next service area is 6 hours away. In order to avoid being tracked by those people, we decided not to stay in the nearby town. The town is too small and it's too easy for us to be found. We have to hide in at least a prefecture-level city to be safe. Hearing Suyu's analysis, Hua didn't say anything and just walked forward with Suyu. However, he was getting more and more anxious. He had a feeling that something was about to happen. Chapter 4074. Hua Xichen was waiting for them at the door, and the three of them walked in together. I've chosen what I want, you can pay now. Hua Xichen glanced at Suyu and smiled. Without a word, Suyu took off his Patek Philippe watch and walked straight to the only male employee in the store. We don't have money, but this watch is very valuable. It's enough to buy your service area. Suyu's tone was arrogant, but he was telling the truth. This Patek Philippe watch was worth 1,000,000 yuan, and buying this small service area wasn't a lie. But the male employee looked at Suyu with a poker face. I don't want anything, just money. What? Is there something wrong with your brain? Look carefully. This is a Patek Philippe watch. Do you know the brand? Suyu was furious. If it weren't for this awkward situation, he wouldn't be so stupid as to use a 1,000,000 yuan watch to exchange for dozens of yuan worth of food and a few hundred yuan worth of gas. I don't want a Patek Philippe, just 100 yuan. The male employee was stubborn. Go and find your boss. Suyu was impatient. No boss. No boss, manager is fine. I'm the manager. Fuck. Suyu was shocked. Huamin, on the other hand, had been looking around since they entered the store. There was only one employee here, and his expression was very strange. Hua Xiqian, I can't deal with him, he won't take the watch. Suyu went in high spirits and came back dejectedly. Hua Xiqian pulled over a chair for Huamian to sit down. Then, he walked towards the male employee with a smile. Without a word, he took out his gun and pointed it at the male employee's head. Listen, kid, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. We need to fill up the gas tank and order some food. We won't hurt anyone. Don't play tricks, my gun can go off easily. You. Is this a fake toy gun? The clerk stuttered as he looked at Hua Xiqian in disbelief. Hua Xiqian smiled and changed the direction of the gun. He aimed it at a glass bottle of candy on the counter behind him. With a bang, the glass bottle instantly shattered. That impact, how was it like a toy gun? With this kind of power, if it were to directly explode his head would probably split open, right? This time, the male employee no longer had a poker face, his expression changed drastically. Don't kill me. I'll listen to you. Hua Xiqian then smiled at Huamin and Suyu who were not far away. His expression clearly said, I've got it. Fuck. How is this possible? Is this considered robbery? Suyu's horizons were truly broadened. Perhaps being born into a military family, Suyu's mindset was very traditional. Therefore, he never thought that he would one day appear as a robber. Although it was a last resort, it was too unbelievable. Hua Xiqian was different. He was not a good person to begin with, so he did not mind being a robber at all. So he was playing with me when he asked me to be his watch. Suyu finally realized. Huamin only smiled. Hua Xiqian's little prank on Suyu was actually harmless. After the male employee was threatened by Hua Xiqian, he was so scared that he wet his pants. Under Hua Xiqian's gaze, he filled up the gas tank. Then, he took the initiative to boil instant noodles for the three of them. During this time, the three of them sat on the chairs, seemingly waiting for the meal to start. The atmosphere was very relaxed, but Huamin was still unable to relax. There should be surveillance cameras here. What you did just now, you'll be arrested and sentenced. Huamin glanced at Hua Xiqian worriedly. Sentenced? Do you think I'd care? Hua Xiqian smiled evilly. He looked like he had nothing to lose. Hua Xiqian, after we escape safely, what are your plans? Will you follow us back to Sea City? Suyu asked curiously. Chapter 4075. Are you telling the truth or a lie? Hua Xiqian opened a lollipop and handed it to Huamin. Then, she opened another one and put it in her mouth like a naughty child. Nonsense, of course it's the truth. As for the truth, I haven't thought about it, because I think we'll talk about it after we escape. Hua Xiqian smiled. What are you talking about? We'll continue driving after we eat. We'll reach the nearest prefecture-level city in 6 hours, right? Suyu felt that the escape was going smoothly. This was the last step. As long as they left this place, everything would be over. However, Hua Xiqin didn't seem to think so. Yes, we'll talk about it after we escape. Hua Xiqin emphasized this sentence. Hua Min felt even more uneasy. She held the lollipop that Hua Xiqin handed her and put it in her mouth, trying to calm herself down. At the same time, she was worried about Qin Chu and Lu Yen. Layla wouldn't let them go so easily, right? After all, they had played such a big game. Zhao Qingya died, and Zhao Qingya killed Mr. Y before she died. When Layla returned and saw this situation, wouldn't she be even angrier? Mian, what are you thinking about? Suyu seemed to be in a good mood. He looked down at Hua Min, who seemed to have a lot on her mind. I'm fine. I'm just a little hungry. Then can I go and see the noodles? Suyu stood up and walked towards the wooden shop assistant. Are the noodles ready? Suyu asked. I think they're ready. Ever since Hua Xiqin pointed a gun at his head, the shop assistant seemed to be extremely scared and spoke timidly. Suyu picked a braised pork bowl and placed it in front of Hua Min. You're pregnant. Don't eat spicy food. Try it. Okay. After that, Suyu took his and Hua Xiqin's and the three of them sat together. Smelling the aroma of the instant noodles, there was actually a trace of happiness. Indeed, when a person was hungry, anything tasted good. In any case, these people were big shots who had seen great storms and waves. Even if they didn't squander money like it was water, they were close to it. People who had eaten enough seafood and were tired of it never thought that one day, they would gather together and wait for instant noodles with great anticipation. Before they started eating, Hua Min took out the poison testing utensils again and tested them one by one. He found that they had not been tampered with. Only then did she feel at ease and let everyone eat together. The entire process of eating noodles was very quiet. Nothing happened. Hua Min felt even more uneasy. She observed her surroundings as she ate, but there was no one suspicious. But it was precisely because of this that it was even more strange. Why was it that there weren't even any birds in the deep mountains and forests? It was so quiet that it was terrifying. It was just like an American movie she had seen before, Silent Hill. It was that eerie feeling when the female lead first entered the small town. However, she didn't say what she was thinking because she didn't want to affect Suyu and Hua Xiqin's moods. After the three of them finished eating, Suyu rubbed his round belly in satisfaction. The satisfaction of a bowl of instant noodles had completely surpassed all the delicious food he had eaten in the past. We'll take some and put it in the car later. If we're hungry, we can eat it, Suyu said reluctantly. There's no way to boil water in the car. You should just pick something that can be eaten immediately. Take some water, Hua Xiqin said. Then, the two men each took a bag of food and went to the place where the food was placed. They began to sweep through the food. When the three of them walked out and were almost in front of the car, Hua Min heard a weak voice. Her heart instantly turned cold. Wait! She shouted, scaring Hua Xiqin and Suyu. What's wrong? Suyu didn't know what to do with Hua Min's sudden outburst. Chapter 4076. Did you hear something? No. Suyu was dumbfounded. What's that sound? Hua Xiqin turned around and looked at Hua Min. No, don't go over yet. Hua Min was extremely flustered. She tried her best to close her eyes and calm herself down. She could still hear that beeping sound. It sounded as if, and the sound was getting louder and louder. Oh no, run! As Hua Min spoke, she pulled Hua Xiqin and Suyu back. The two men cooperated and retreated. 5 seconds later, there was a loud rumbling sound, and the off-road vehicle they were driving was blown to pieces in an instant. How is this possible? Suyu was stunned. Hua Xichen reacted quickly and immediately pulled out his gun and pointed it at the male employee behind him. However, the moment he turned around, he was dumbfounded. How is this still a person? I don't know when, but many people appeared. There are about 20 of them, and they all have submachine guns in their hands. The strangest thing was that these people all looked exactly the same. Yes, there were more than 20 of the wooden male employee they saw earlier. It was as if they had duplicated him. Suyu was also in disbelief. If there were 2 or 3 of them, it would be fine if they looked the same. They could also be twins or triplets. But now, Huamin immediately understood what was going on. She bit her lip and said in a low voice, "It's her. She's here." "Who?" Suyu didn't react. "Layla. She's here." Hua Xichen instantly understood Huamin's reaction. Now that he thought about it, they might have already fallen into a trap when they first entered this service area. When the employee refueled their car, he had already planted a custom-made bomb. If Huamin hadn't reacted quickly enough, the 3 of them would have been blown to pieces. Layla's methods were always so cruel and unexpected. Layla hadn't appeared yet, but Huamin knew that they couldn't escape. If they were caught again, they might never have a chance to make a comeback. Therefore, before Layla appeared, she went to Suyu and Hua Xichen. "In a while, I'll think of a way to lure them away. You two find an opportunity to run. Don't worry about me. You're doing it again." Suyu especially didn't like hearing Huamin say such things. Hua Xichen didn't say anything. "Suyu, listen to me. They want to catch me. Even if they catch me, they won't kill me because I'm still useful. These people are probably here for my dad. Yen and I are their real targets, so they won't pay attention to you two. In a while, I'll find an opportunity to lure them away, and then, you run as far as you can. I want to know what method you have to lure those 20 people away." Hua Xichen obviously didn't believe Huamin. I have my way." Huamin was a little guilty. "What way?" Hua Xichen was aggressive. "I have a drug I made myself. It will make them all faint. In that case, take it out now and drug them. We'll leave together." Hua Xichen immediately found a bug. "Not now. I have to wait for Layla to appear so we can drug them together," Huamin emphasized. "Where's the drug? Give it to me. I'll help you." Hua Xichen reached out his hand. "You don't know how to use it. I'll do it." Feeling guilty, Huamin turned his head and rejected Hua Xichen. Just then, a woman wearing a golden mask appeared behind those people. "Guys, did you have enough to eat? Are you happy?" Under Layla's mask, there was a smile on her face. Chapter 4077. Huamin took a step forward with his big belly. However, Hua Xichen pressed down on his shoulder. "What are you doing?" "Nothing, I won't go over. Don't worry." Huamin smiled at Hua Xichen and pried his hand away. She looked at Layla and said calmly, "Layla, the person you're looking for is me, so don't make things difficult for my friends. I'll go with you. Let Suyu and Hua Xichen go, okay?" "Ha ha ha." Layla chuckled softly. She didn't immediately answer Huamin. Instead, she looked at Hua Xichen. "If she didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Your acting skills are really good. You actually pretended to be Jack for so long by my side." Hua Xiqian didn't say anything, but he felt uncomfortable when he saw Layla smile. The worst thing is that you actually imitated Jack in bed. It's been hard on you. I have to say, whether it's you or the real Jack, I'm very satisfied with your skills in bed. For Layla to say such explicit words in front of so many people, it was really shocking. Huamin and Suyu looked at Hua Xiqian at the same time. He didn't feel awkward or troubled. After all, he had been by Layla's side for so long, and he knew very well what kind of person she was. Qianqian, come back with me. I'll forgive you this time. Layla seemed to like Hua Xiqian. I'll go back with you. Sure, but you have to let go of Sister Mian, Hua Xiqian said arrogantly. Oh my god, my pet is negotiating with me. Layla kept calling him a pet, which made Hua Xiqian hate her to the core. He had spent the first half of his life playing with women. Now that he was being played by a woman, he was extremely annoyed. Did I hear you right? Qian, why are you still so infatuated? Did Huamin treat you well? She sent you to prison with her own hands. She destroyed the island that you spent years building and destroyed your best dreams. In the end, she even wanted to kill you. I saved you and gave you a second chance at life. As your master, shouldn't you be loyal to me for the rest of your life? Stop fooling around. How could I possibly be loyal to a demon? Hua Xiqian laughed sarcastically. Devil. Ha! Don't slander them. I'm not as kind as a demon. Layla laughed arrogantly. Layla, don't make things difficult for Mian. I'll do anything you want me to do. I'm willing to be your servant for the rest of my life. I'll go back with you. I'll help you kill people and set fires. I'm even willing to die for you, as long as you let her go. Hua Xiqian really wanted to protect Huamin. This desire to protect her had been growing since they were children. It had never changed. Now that Huamin was pregnant and about to give birth, he was facing such a crisis. His anxiety and worry were no less than Qin Chu and Su Yu's. Who do you think you are? How dare you negotiate such a ridiculous condition with me? Then don't blame me for being rude. Then, without any warning, Hua Xiqian raised his gun and fired. He aimed at Layla's head. Yes, it was very accurate. Hua Xiqian's marksmanship had always been very accurate. However, he knew that there was almost nothing he could do. He could only give it a try, hoping for a fluke. Sure enough, Layla reacted quickly. She instantly grabbed someone beside her and blocked the bullet for her. TSK. You actually dared to shoot me. It seems, your sister is indeed your sweetheart, Su Yu, drag Hua Xiqian back. I plan to use poison on Layla, Huamin whispered into Su Yu's ear. Before Su Yu could speak, Huamin pushed Su Yu and Hua Xiqian away. You two step back. No matter what happens, don't worry about me. With that, Huamin strode towards Layla. Mian, Su Yu and Hua Xiqian exclaimed at the same time. Chapter 4078. Perhaps it was because Huamin was pregnant and too heavy, but before she could take a few steps, Hua Xiqian caught up with her and hugged her. Su Yu and Hua Xiqian rushed up to stop Huamin almost at the same time. But Su Yu was a step slower, and Hua Xiqian was faster. He hugged Huamin from behind without any warning. In Hua Xiqian's heart, Huamin was neither a goddess nor an idol. She had always been the little girl who brought him sunshine. She was the little girl who could warm his heart, so he could never bear to violate her. Even on that deserted island where they were alone, he treated Huamin with all the warmth he had in his life. Hua Xiqian could do 10,000 bad things to others, but to Huamin, he felt that he had to control his voice well so that he wouldn't scare his sister. So this time, hugging Huamin so close, Hua Xiqin felt a sense of happiness that he had never felt before. Hua Xiqin, what are you doing? Let go of me. Huamin struggled violently. She had already made up her mind, so she didn't want to change it just because Hua Xiqin stopped her. In fact, the moment Layla appeared, Huamin had already given up hope. She wasn't sure if Lu Yan and Qin Chu were still alive. However, she knew that the three of them were doomed this time. With Layla's temper, if she captured them, she might not die, but Su Yu and Hua Xiqin would probably die. So, she had to fight. She didn't want to be a burden that everyone sacrificed to protect her. However, he did not expect Hua Xiqin to react so quickly. Little sister Mian, I know what you want. No, you don't know anything. Don't pretend to be smart. Let me go. I don't want us to die here. Huamin's voice was very low. She said this only to Hua Xiqin, as if she didn't want anyone else to hear these words. I know. Give it to me. Hua Xiqin whispered into Huamin's ear. From an outsider's perspective, Hua Xiqin was kissing Huamin's cheek. Actually, that wasn't the case. He just wanted to tell her that. You. Huamin was slightly shocked. She didn't know when she had exposed herself and how Hua Xiqin had discovered her little secret. It's too late. Mian. Give it to me. I'll do it. No. Huamin admitted that she hated Hua Xiqin, but not to this extent. So, she didn't want to give it to him. She refused. Mian. Do you want all of us to die here? Think about the baby in your belly. Don't be so selfish, Huamin was a little conflicted and choked up. Be good. Give it to me. I'll go find Layla. Huamin didn't have time to think. Hua Xiqin was right. If he delayed any longer, the three of them might die here. He might as well give it to Hua Xiqin. Huamin was very fast. Behind her back, she stuffed something very small into Hua Xiqin's hand. After Hua Xiqin took it, he hid it in his sleeve and let go of Huamin. However, the moment he let go of Huamin, he greedily kissed her forehead. That kiss contained all the gentleness of his life. Sister Mian. I don't regret loving you. If I had another chance, I would still choose this life. These were the last words Hua Xiqin said to Huamin. They were also the last words of his life. Then, Hua Xiqin pushed Huamin away. Su Yu caught Huamin from behind. She almost fell to the ground. It was obvious how much strength Hua Xiqin used. Hua Xiqin, are you fucking crazy? Su Yu cursed with great dissatisfaction. He didn't know what happened or what Hua Xiqin and Huamin said. Chapter 4079. After being helped up by Su Yu, Huamin couldn't speak and just kept crying. Mian, what's wrong? Is your stomach uncomfortable? Where does it hurt? Su Yu was scared out of his wits and his expression changed drastically. Huamin shook his head and cried, refusing to speak. She kept staring in the direction Hua Xiqin left. In fact, he was quite far away from Layla. Hua Xiqin walked over step by step. TSK. I didn't expect you to be so good to Huamin. Even in the end, you had to put on a scene of life and death. Amazing. Best actor Hua, I'm cheering for you. Layla admired Hua Xiqin very much. Or rather, Layla liked Hua Xiqin more than Jack. Especially when she saw such a sentimental Hua Xiqin. Hua Xiqin walked up to Layla calmly and looked at the arrogant woman wearing a golden mask. He knelt down silently on one knee and reached out his right hand to his chest. Like a knight to a princess, young madam, I was wrong. I admit it's my fault. I'll go back with you. But please let me on go, okay? Huamin is so important to you. Is he more important than your life? Yes. Then do you think it's worth it for you to do all this for her? Even if you die for her, so what? This woman is so heartless that she won't remember you. She'll only act coquettishly with her husband, Qin Chu, and act cute with her boyfriend, Su Yu. She's a typical bitch. It's not worth it for you. No matter what, this is my choice. Please fulfill it, young madam. Hua Xiqian was such an arrogant person, but for Huamin, he was willing to kneel down to Layla and obediently submit to her. It really did satisfy Layla's vanity and possessiveness. However, but my target has always been her, not you. So, what should I do? Even if you commit suicide in front of me, I might not let your little sister Mian go. Layla smiled evilly. Hua Xiqian felt disgusted by the face under the mask. If that's the case, then I can only perish together with you. After Hua Xiqian finished speaking, he stood up slowly. In an instant, he crushed the small white ball-shaped mysterious item that Huamin had given him. Then, in an instant, it was an earth-shattering explosion. Su Yu dragged Huamin and retreated. Sensing that something was wrong, he saw Hua Xiqian stand up. He subconsciously dragged Huamin and retreated. However, the power of this explosive was too great, even though it was far enough away. Even though they were far away, Huamin and Su Yu were still sent flying. Moreover, the terrifying thing about this explosive was that after it exploded once, it would explode a second time. Therefore, the moment Hua Xiqian crushed the explosive, he was destined to die. Hua Xiqian, no, Huamin screamed at the top of her lungs. She was the one who developed the explosive, so she knew how powerful it was. Therefore, at that moment, she suddenly regretted it and hated herself. Why did she develop such a perverted explosive? Hua Xiqian crushed the thing with his own hands and was instantly blown to pieces. Of course, Layla, who was so close to him, she and her subordinates wouldn't be able to escape. In addition, there was a gas station nearby. This explosion was earth-shattering, and the deafening sound echoed in the depths of the mountains for a long time. This was also the biggest explosion at the border in years, so you only remembered tightly protecting Huamin as he heard the earth-shattering explosion. His vision turned black, and in the end, he lost consciousness. Chapter 4080. Su Yu didn't know how much time had passed, but he seemed to have a very long dream. Miraculously, he dreamed that he and Huamin were married, and Qin Chu was no longer in this world. There was only him and Huamin. He dreamed that he returned to the mansion after work and saw Huamin cooking in the kitchen. She was wearing an apron and looked like a housewife. "Honey, you're back." "Mian." Su Yu was shocked. "Dummy, go wash your hands. I made your favorite boiled fish today. It's very spicy and delicious." Huamin pushed him directly to the sink and turned on the tap numbly. Listening to the sound of running water, he felt like he was in a trance. "Honey. Mom asked us to come home for dinner tomorrow night. Grandpa is back from Jing City and misses us." Huamin kept talking to her, calling her honey. Su Yu felt that this was unbelievable. "Mian. What's wrong? Honey. We." Su Yu pointed at Huamin and then at himself, dumbfounded. "Honey, you're acting weird today. Did something happen at the company that made you unhappy?" Huamin walked over. She leaned tightly against Su Yu's chest, and the warmth of her body was so real. No. Mian, I want to ask, are we married? Honey, are you stupid? We've been married for more than half a year. What, you're not going back on your word to marry me because you have another woman, are you? Hua-min pouted. No, I would never do that. I know you wouldn't. After all, if you dared to divorce me, not only would you have to give me half of your assets, but Mom, Dad, and Grandpa would also beat you up. Hua-min smiled happily. Her eyes formed a small moon, which made Su-yu's heart ripple. Mian, I might have had a dream. I dreamed that you and I were just good friends. We were good friends for life. You married someone else, your husband is Chin Chu, and you gave birth to twins. Pudding and Little Bean. Su-yu rambled on. Hubby, you have such a rich imagination. How is that possible? I met you right after I graduated from university and started working. You've been chasing after me ever since, and I married you in less than half a year. Our wedding even made the headlines. Now that we've been married for half a year, I feel very happy. Everyone in the hospital is jealous that I have a good husband. At the hospital. Mian, are you still working at Southside? What Southside? I'm at the first hospital. I'm a gynecologist. Honey, you're acting weird today. What's wrong? Hua-min walked over, puzzled. He touched Su-yu's head and muttered to himself, you don't have a fever. What's going on? Su-yu held Hua-min's hand. Mian, am I really not dreaming? Have we been married for half a year? Why don't you try and slap yourself? Hua-min said as he laughed to himself. Su-yu froze, then, the scene changed. He saw Hua-min slowly fall to the ground in front of him. Mian, he saw a lot of blood coming out of her lower body. It was so much blood that Su-yu was scared out of his wits. Su-yu. I don't think I can make it. Hua-min said weakly. You have to hold on. Mian. You'll be fine. Pudding and Little Bean are still waiting for Mommy to come home. Su-yu cried as he saw Hua-min in his arms and slowly closed his eyes. Mian. No. Su-yu yelled as he woke up from his dream. Then, he was dumbfounded. What was this place? Where was he? Chapter 4081. When Su-yu woke up, he felt a splitting headache. Doctor, come quickly. My son is awake. My son is awake. Lady Su hurriedly got up and opened the door. The doctor and nurse immediately ran into the room. Then, they gave Su-yu a full-body checkup. Lady Su, congratulations. Young Master Su is fine now. He just has a slight concussion. After 2 more days of observation, he can be discharged. Okay, thank you, doctor. After the doctor and nurse left, Lady Su reached out and held her son's hand tightly. You, look at Mommy, look at Mommy. Mrs. Su's tears streamed down her face. Mom, why are you here? Where is this place? Su-yu finally came back to his senses. He looked at the unfamiliar room with confusion in his eyes. Silly child, of course this is the hospital. You've been unconscious for 3 days. You scared me to death. Lady Su still had lingering fears. When she saw her son being carried back, she almost fainted. Su-yu was covered in blood. She thought that her son was beyond saving. Unexpectedly, Su-yu only suffered some minor injuries. For some reason, he was unconscious for 3 days before waking up. Unconscious for 3 days. Su-yu was stunned. Lady Sue nodded with tears in her eyes. Which hospital is this? It's the best private hospital in Yunnan. It belongs to the army. Your grandfather arranged for it. Don't worry. Lady Sue held her son's hand and comforted him. What happened to the hospital in Yunnan? Oh my God, son. Did you lose your memory? Lady Sue asked quickly when she saw that Su Yu's mood was a little off. Su Yu let go of his mother's hand and tried hard to remember. He remembered that he was kidnapped. Then, he saw Zhao Qingya. Then, he saw Hua Min come here. Then, he saw Hua Xiqian, and then the explosion. Scenes flashed through Hua Xiqian's mind like a movie. His heart was beating faster and faster. Finally, when he recalled the big explosion, his heart almost couldn't take it anymore. Mom! Mom! He panted as he called out to his mother. Son, I'm here. Lady Sue quickly got up and gently patted her son's back. Explosion. I remember now, it was a big explosion. Mom, where's Mian? Where's Mian? Hearing Su Yu's question, Lady Sue's eyes suddenly flashed with something, as if there was something hidden. You, don't get too worked up. Listen to me, your priority now is to take care of your body. The doctor said that you have a concussion and are emotionally unstable. He wants you to get some rest first. We'll talk about the rest after you leave the hospital. No, you have to tell me now. Mom, I want to see Mian. I want to see her. As he spoke, Su Yu was so agitated that he roughly removed the foredrip from his body and wanted to get off the bed. However, as soon as his feet touched the ground, he fell down with a thud. He had been lying down for too long and felt weak all over. Son. Are you hurt? You can't get out of bed yet, don't scare me. Lady Sue quickly helped her son up. However, Su Yu shook her off. Mom, don't stop me. I'm going to see Mian. Son, why are you so stubborn? You won't listen to me. Can you take care of yourself first? Lady Sue cried, heartbroken that her son was torturing himself like this. Mom, tell me the truth, did something happen to Mian? Ha! Is she dead? Su Yu remembered seeing Hua Min covered in blood in his arms in his dream. At this moment, he felt like he was going crazy. Moreover, from his mother's secretive eyes, he could tell that it wasn't good news waiting for him. Chapter 4082. Sure enough, Lady Sue's expression changed when she heard Su Yu ask about Hua Min. You, listen to Mom first. Ha, you, Mom, don't brush me off. I want the truth. Where's Mian? Tell me. Tell me, he didn't even use the word you. Instead, he shouted at his mother. Su Yu had never been so rude since he was a child. It wasn't because he was unfilial. It was because he couldn't bear any bad news about Hua Min. Su Yu only had one thought in his mind. As long as Hua Min died, he wouldn't live either. You, Mom, I'm begging you, don't hide it from me. My heart hurts so much. Tell me, I saw blood all over Mian's body in my dream. What happened to her? Where is she? Why isn't she with me? Where is she? Where is Mian? Su Yu's voice was hoarse. Every word was weak and even choked with sobs. It was heart-wrenching to hear. You, calm down. Go to bed first. I'll tell you slowly. Tell me now. Su Yu was extremely domineering. Su Yu didn't give his mother time to breathe. He wanted to know about Hua Min immediately. Otherwise, he would go completely crazy. Seeing that she couldn't persuade her son, Lady Sue could only sigh slightly. Mian isn't dead. Don't make wild guesses. Mian isn't dead. Then where is she? Why didn't she come to see me? She was injured in the explosion. She's in the ward upstairs. I wanted to wait for you to recover before going to see her. I didn't expect you to be in such a hurry. Is Mian disabled? Suyu asked in fear. No, Mian isn't disabled. She's very healthy. She just had a serious concussion because of the explosion. Is she fine? Suyu obviously didn't believe it. Even now, when he recalled that explosion, he was still shaken to the core. Suyu could only remember the final scene of thick smoke billowing out, followed by a deafening explosion. After hearing Suyu's words, Lady Sue was silent for 5 seconds. Finally, he said with difficulty, Mian, she's pregnant. What? At that moment, Suyu felt his heart skip a beat. He thought he had misheard. Then, Lady Sue couldn't bear the torment in her heart. Just repeat it again and make it clear. Mian's baby is gone. The explosion alerted the police who were patrolling the area. The ambulance sent you to the hospital. In order to save Mian's life, the doctor performed an induced labor. The baby is dead. After Suyu heard this, he could not say a word. His lips were pale and he couldn't stop trembling. No, that's impossible. How could that be? Mom, you must be lying to me. Mian's baby is almost full term. She's about to give birth. How could she be dead? You must be lying to me. I don't believe it, I don't believe it. It's true. We didn't expect things to turn out like this. It's already a blessing that you're alive. Those terrorists are all dead. At the scene of the explosion, other than the two of you who miraculously survived, everyone else was blown to pieces. It's too scary. I thought I was going to lose you forever. After Lady Sue said this, she leaned over Suyu's shoulder and sobbed softly. It could be seen that she had also suffered a lot in her heart. At this moment, there was only one thought in Suyu's mind. Mian's baby, which was about to be born, was gone just like that. Where's Chin-Chu? Suyu closed his eyes in pain and asked his mother. Chapter 4083. Chin-Chu is already here. He's been accompanying Mian in the ward. I'll go see her. Suyu tried his best to stand up, but he couldn't move. Mian isn't in a good mental state right now. She just lost her child and she's sad. Can you wait until she's better? No, I want to go now. Suyu insisted. In the end, Lady Sue had no choice but to agree to her son's request. However, Suyu was tall and she couldn't help him. Lady Sue opened the door and called 2 bodyguards in. Then, the 2 bodyguards helped Suyu upstairs. On the way, Suyu had already guessed what was going on. At first, Huamin wanted to detonate the bomb himself and let him and Hua Xiqian leave. However, for some reason, Hua Xiqian seemed to have seen through Huamin's intentions. Therefore, at the critical moment, he rushed up and hugged Mian from behind. Then, they exchanged a few words. It was unknown when they exchanged the miniature bomb. Then, Hua Xiqian pretended to surrender to Layla and moved closer to her. Then, he found an opportunity to detonate the bomb. The scene was a mess. From what her mother said just now, it was confirmed that other than her and Huamin, no one else survived. Did that mean that Hua Xiqian succeeded? He was dead, and so was Layla. The people Layla had brought with her, including the inarticulate waiter in the service area, were almost completely annihilated. However, when he thought about how Hwamin's child was gone, Suyuk hated himself. He wondered why he wasn't the one in trouble. Hwamin came to save him. Now that he was in this state, how could he face her? Face Chin-chu. It was only a short 200 meters along the way, but Suyu felt that it was 10,000 kilometers long. He was conflicted. Finally, I arrived at the door of the ward. Young master, we're here. Should we go in now? The two bodyguards whispered. Suyuk stood at the door, not daring to go in. At this time, he was struggling in his heart. He wanted to see Hwamin immediately, but he was also afraid to see Hwamin. After all, this kind of result was unexpected. Why don't we come back tomorrow? Lady Sue's heart ached for her son. She was afraid that her son would not be able to take the shock after waking up. She was afraid that Suyu would cry when he saw Hwamin, so she wanted to coax him to go down first. There's no need for that. I'll have to face it sooner or later. After saying that, Suyuk seemed to have made up his mind. Then, he said to the bodyguards expressionlessly, "You guys, help me in." When Suyu entered, Hwamin was already asleep. Chin-chu looked at her silently from the bedside. Seeing Suyu enter, Chin-chu turned around, but there was still no emotion in his eyes. "You're awake." Chin-chu took the initiative to speak first. Suyu nodded. Then, Suyu glanced at Hwamin, who was lying weakly on the hospital bed, and felt extremely sad. "Chin-chu, is Mian awake?" "She hasn't woken up yet. She's been like this since the surgery." However, the doctor said that she's fine. She just had a concussion and a strong impact on her brain. But she's been unconscious for 3 days. I think she'll wake up soon. Chin-chu, the child in Mian's stomach. Suyu's eyes were filled with tears. The child is gone. Chin-chu paused twice when he said those 5 words. It seemed like he had used up all his strength to say them. Chapter 4084. When Chin-chu arrived, he made his choice. When the chief surgeon asked him if he wanted to save the mother or the child, Chin-chu's heart was about to break. However, he immediately answered that he wanted to save the mother, even though he loved their child very much. Later, after the abortion, the doctors carried out a child covered in blood. Chin-chu glanced at it. The doctor also told him that it was a boy who was about to reach full term. If there were no accidents, the child would survive. However, because of the big explosion, Hwamin's lower body was bleeding profusely. That was why this accident happened. Chin-chu cried outside the operating room for an hour. He cried silently for the child who didn't have the chance to call them parents. "Chin-chu. I'm so sorry." Suyu felt extremely guilty. He really felt like dying. Right now, he envied Hwasichen the most. After the explosion, he sacrificed himself, and from then on, he and Hwamin were even. However, he carried such a heavy debt. How could he pay it back? It's not your fault. It's all fate. Plus, those people weren't after you. Don't be sad. Take care of yourself. Chin-chu was very cultured. He was rational and calm and knew that this wasn't Suyu's fault. After all, those people behind the scenes weren't after Suyu. Suyu was just a scapegoat. Actually, if it weren't for Hwasichen, Mian and I might have died long ago, Suyu said. I did find Hwasichen's DNA among the body fragments at the scene. I was going to ask you when you woke up. Hwasichen betrayed that woman and made her think that he was Jack. At the critical moment, he betrayed her and escaped with Mian and me. On the way out, we were ambushed by those people. Mian brought explosives and wanted to die together with them. Hua Xiqian stole Mian's explosives and saved us. That's probably what happened. Suyu carefully recalled what happened that day. Okay, I got it. Go back and rest first. We'll talk about the rest later. Qin Chu. Suyu still wanted to say something. After all, he was extremely guilty. Hua Min's son, who had been pregnant for 10 months, was Qin Chu's second child. It was gone. It took half of Hua Min's life. If she woke up and found out that the child was gone, she would probably be devastated. Suyu didn't dare to think about it, but seeing that Hua Mian hadn't woken up yet, he didn't want to stay any longer. Therefore, he was helped back to his ward by the bodyguards. After Qin Chu defeated the big guy, he was placed in the bamboo building. However, the bamboo building was already empty. Other than Mr. Y, who was poisoned to death by Zhao Qingya, there was no one else. Qin Chu felt like he was being controlled by his opponent and felt extremely uncomfortable. Therefore, as he chased after them, he heard from the Su family that there was an explosion. Su Yu and Hua Min were arranged to be treated at the military hospital. Qin Chu rushed to the military hospital. Chapter 4085. Uncle Lu called me, then, Xiao Fei told Qin Chu the whole story. Only then did Qin Chu realize the seriousness of the situation. If what you said is true, then we're in big trouble. Brother-in-law, where's Yin? Qin Chu, brother-in-law. Seeing Qin Chu's silence, Xiao Fei had a bad feeling. To be honest, I don't know where Yen is. Of course not. Uncle Luke said you came here together to save Sister Mian. I looked for her for a long time but couldn't find her. I followed the coordinates and searched along the road. Then, I heard there was a big explosion nearby and thought it had something to do with it. So, I came to take a look and saw you here. Qin Chu raised his head, and there was a hint of uneasiness in his calm eyes. Yen did come with me, but we split up. She gave me some of her subordinates and brought some of her own. So, she should still be in the primeval forest. I've sent people to look for her, but they couldn't find her. More importantly, according to the time Suyu said, Suyu and Mian saw the woman in the mask. She's probably the culprit. Since she can appear in front of Suyu, does it mean Yen failed? Impossible. As far as I know, only a few people in the world can defeat Yen. She can't have failed. Qin Chu's speculation was denied by Xiao Fei as soon as he spoke. Is there any other way to contact her? Qin Chu asked. I called Uncle Lu. He used to be able to locate Xiaoyan's GPS, but there seems to be a problem with the signal. He can't locate her anymore. That's why I'm here to ask you about the last time you saw her. Give me the map and I'll look for her again. Maybe she's injured and lost her way. Okay. Wait a moment. I'll draw you the map. Qin Chu thought Xiao Fei's words made sense, so he took out the map immediately. He marked the place where he parted from Lu Yen and the route Lu Yen took. Xiao Fei took the blueprint and left the military hospital. Brother-in-law, I'll go look for him. Okay, be careful. If you have any news, remember to tell me. All right. Xiao Fei left, but Qin Chu's heart did not calm down. He had a feeling that Lu Yen was more than just lost and injured. With Lu Yan's personality, she wouldn't be so calm if she didn't hear about the explosion and her sister's coma. Even if they wanted to catch a plane, they would have to come here, right? There was another feeling that Qin Chu also felt was very strange. The big boss that everyone was talking about, the person that even the professor had to be wary of. How could he have been killed by Hua Xiqian's explosion so easily? Was it really that easy? Qin Chu looked at the unconscious Huamin and was still worried. And at this very moment, on the other side of the earth, Huamin woke up from the excruciating pain all over her body. All she saw was white. She didn't see anything until her vision recovered. She seemed to be in a room full of white. Miss Mian, you're finally awake. Hearing someone talking to her, Huamin turned her head to look. She saw a middle-aged woman dressed like a gypsy standing by her bed. He looked very much like an Indian, with big eyes and a little exotic, but he spoke standard Chinese. Who are you? Where is this place? Huamin felt like she was still in a dream. Chapter 4086. Miss Mian, don't be afraid. This is your home. Rest assured and recover. The maid's face was full of love as she reached out to cover Huamin with a blanket. However, Huamin blocked her with one hand. This isn't my home. I'm leaving. Although Huamin had just woken up, she hadn't lost her memory. Her mind was still very clear. She still remembered the last scene. Hua Xiqian had snatched her explosives and perished together with Layla. The explosion was deafening. Huamin's eyes widened. She even felt like she could see Hua Xiqian's body being blown up. At the thought of this, tears flowed out unconsciously. She wasn't dreaming. She knew that Hua Xiqian was dead. He was dead. He had to be dead. What about Suyu? Where was Suyu, who had experienced the explosion with her? Huamin felt that she had a lot of things to do, so she wasn't in the mood to recuperate on the hospital bed. She pushed Messiah's hand away and was about to get off the bed. However, she felt that she had no strength at all. Miss Mian, your body is still very weak. For the sake of the child, you have to take good care of your body. You know, when we first rescued you, you almost had a miscarriage. The child was about to be lost. Hearing Messiah's words, Huamin quickly looked down at her stomach. Fortunately, the child was still there, and she didn't feel anything wrong with her body. Our master personally performed the surgery to protect the baby. Fortunately, the baby is fine. Don't worry. Who is your master? Huamin grasped the key point. Because he had always heard that those people called Layla young mistress. Could this young mistress be related to Layla? The maid didn't say anything. After a moment of silence, she slowly replied, rest well first. Don't worry. I'll tell you everything later. I can't rest here. My friend's life is still unknown. I have to find him. The friend Huamin was talking about was Suyu. Her last scene was with Suyu. Could it be that Suyu was also killed by the explosion? You can't go find him. Obviously, Messiah knew what Huamin was talking about. Why? Huamin looked up at the unfamiliar maid. Her face was pale, probably because she had been lying down for too long. Messiah was silent. Is he dead? Huamian was on the verge of tears. No, he's not dead. Then why can't I go find him? Huamian continued to ask. Because you're on the other side of the earth. Where is this place? Only then did Huamian realize that she was no longer in that remote primitive forest. It's a place you've never been to. You're the people behind Layla. Huamin instantly understood something. Her pupils constricted. She stared at Messiah and felt cold all over. Miss Mian, you haven't fully recovered. You should sleep for a while. I'm not sleeping. Who are you? You, Before Huamin could finish, the maid waved her hand gently and turned around in front of Huamin. Huamin felt her vision go dark and she fell asleep. Then, Messiah carefully covered Huamin with a blanket and slowly left the strange room. Inside the magnificent hall. She's awake. Linya, who was wearing a crystal mask and a gorgeous gown, looked like a high and mighty queen. In her hand was a colorful macaw. The macaw stood obediently in her palm, not daring to move as if it was afraid of her. Chapter 4087. Yes, Master. Miss Mian has woken up, but she's a bit agitated, so I let her sleep for a while longer. I checked her body data and found she's anemic and weak. She needs more sleep to recover her strength, the maid explained patiently. Did she say anything? She said she was looking for her friend. Ha! She's a fool. How can she believe in something as boring as a friend? Maybe it's the boy who was with her in Miss Layla's hands. The boy seems to be very nice to Miss Mian. What's the use of being nice to her? These men are temporary and have ulterior motives. She's still young and can't see through them. Yes, Master. Miss Mian may not be able to get used to this immediately. We need to give her some time. How's her baby? I did a heartbeat test on her. The baby's heartbeat is strong and he's fine now. Master, you're like a living Huatuo. Linya chuckled. Take good care of them. They won't be able to hold on much longer. The baby will be born soon. Yes. I'll take good care of Miss Mian. Where's the girl? Messiah knew her master was asking about the other one. The other one was severely injured by Miss Layla. She has many broken bones and is still in a coma. Master, do you want to perform recovery surgery on her? Not now. Put her in the freezer. I'll tell you when I need her. Linya lowered her head and played with the bird while speaking. Yes, Master. Then the maid left. Linya murmured to the parrot. Layla, that psychopathic girl. I wonder what new tricks she'll play this time. Let's wait and see. Then a creepy smile appeared on Linya's face. Qiao Fei and his men searched day and night. They searched the entire primitive forest but found no trace of Lu Yan. They only found the bodies of Lu Yan's subordinates and a pile of fresh blood near a forest and a bamboo building. After collecting the DNA, Qiao Fei returned to the city quickly. He went to the DNA testing center with Qin Chu. When the results came out, Qiao Fei's face turned dark. President Qin, after repeated tests and comparisons, we found that these two are indeed from the same person. The doctor was holding a strand of hair and a blood test report. The hair was from Qiao Fei because he had a small pouch in his pocket that contained his and Lu Yan's hair. This saying came from an ancient custom in China, which was called husband and wife. The blood was taken from the primeval forest. After comparison, it was proven that it was Lu Yan's blood. At that moment, Qiao Fei almost broke down. Qin Chu's heart was also extremely heavy. Huamin was injured and had a miscarriage. Lu Yan's status was unknown. Su Yu was in relatively good condition with a slight concussion. Hua Xiqian, on the other hand, had been blown to smithereens. The consequences of this were not something that an ordinary person could bear. Have you investigated it thoroughly? Qin Chu confirmed. Yes, we've checked thoroughly. All of our staff went out and compared the blood 3 times. It's indeed from one person. Judging from the degree of dryness of the blood, this person has been injured for at least 24 hours. If you still can't find him, I'm afraid, there's not much hope for him to survive. Shut up. She won't die. This was the first time Qin Chu saw Xiao Fei lose control with his own eyes. Xiao Fei roared, scaring the staff into silence. That's all for you. Qin Chu waved his hand and sent them away. Xiao Fei's hand holding the blood test report trembled slightly. Brother-in-law, do you believe it? Yan, she's not dead. She won't die. Xiao Fei's voice was choked with sobs. Chapter 4088. Qin Chu was also upset when he heard this. He didn't expect things to end like this. Besides, Qin Chu blamed himself because he had set off with Lu Yan. He was fine, but Lu Yan, he felt sorry for Xiao Fei from the bottom of his heart. Fei, I didn't think this through. It's my fault. Don't say that. I know how good Xiao Yan is. Let me put it this way, brother-in-law, even if there are two of you, you might not be able to defeat Xiao Yan. This time, you came back safe and sound, but Xiao Yan went missing. This only proves that she is the target, not you. So, don't blame yourself. Xiao Fei was a smart man and immediately analyzed the pros and cons of the situation. Even so, how could Qin Chu not blame himself? Lu Yan went missing, and he didn't know if she was alive or dead. Xiao Fei also said that he found a pool of blood. If she really bled like that, she would have been dead for more than 24 hours. If Huamin knew that something happened to Lu Yan, he wouldn't be able to take it. Brother-in-law, don't tell Sister Mian about this. If she asks, just say that Yan went missing. Don't make it too specific, Xiao Fei reminded him. I know. Qin Chu nodded with a heavy heart. Brother-in-law, I'll talk to Uncle Lu on the phone and then I'll leave. Where are you going? Qin Chu asked him. To find Yan. As long as I don't see her body, I won't give up. I'll find her no matter where I go. Then, Xiao Fei tore the comparison report into pieces. Then, he turned around and left. Qin Chu didn't expect all of this. Although most people were still alive, the ending wasn't what he wanted. He also didn't expect Hua Xiqian to be the savior of this incident. Who would have thought that Hua Xiqian would suddenly change his personality from Jack to Hua Xiqian? Qin Chu took out a cigarette from his pocket, leaned against the corridor wall, and lit it up. At this moment, the pressure in his heart was unprecedentedly great. Compared to 4 years ago when he was plotted against by Hua Xiqian and didn't dare to go home, the pressure in his heart was even greater. What he was going to face now was the question of how he was going to explain to Huamin that she had a miscarriage after she woke up. That was a fresh little life, a child that was about to be born. She was the treasure of their hearts. In Su Yu's ward. Ever since Su Yu went upstairs and glanced at Huamin, he hadn't said a word since he came back. Lady Su's heart ached for her son. During this period, Lord Su and Mr. Su secretly flew over to visit him on a private plane. Seeing that Su Yu was fine, the two of them quickly left. After all, their identities were sensitive and they had to avoid arousing suspicion. Lady Su was left alone to take care of her son. You have to eat, your body can't take it. Listen to mommy and drink some millet congee, okay? Lady Su was patient and careful, just like how she coaxed her sick son when he was young. Mom, I'm really not hungry. Su Yu's voice was extremely hoarse. It was obvious that he was very angry. You have to eat even if you're not hungry. Otherwise, your body will collapse. Mian won't want to see you like this when she wakes up, right? Mom. I don't have the face to see Mian. I'm afraid she won't forgive me. Su Yu was extremely guilty. He lowered his head. For the past few days, whenever he closed his eyes, he would think of Huomin's miscarriage. This incident had already dealt a heavy blow to Su Yu's mental state. Mian isn't that kind of person, don't worry. It's precisely because I know that Mian isn't that kind of person that I'm even sadder. If she hits me or scolds me, I'll feel better. At this moment, the bodyguard suddenly knocked on the door and came in. Madam, Dr. Zhao asked me to tell you that Miss Huo woke up 5 minutes ago. Upon hearing that Huomin was awake, Lady Su and Su Yu's expressions changed. Chapter 4089. When Huomin woke up, Qin Chu was still boiling water. She had been taking care of Huomin for the past few days and hadn't been able to eat or sleep well. She looked a lot more haggard. Qin Chu was going to boil some water to wipe Huomin's face and feet. And it was at this moment that she woke up. Honey, her voice was very weak, and Qin Chu felt his body suddenly tremble. Then, he quickly turned around and walked to the bedside. Seeing Huomin wake up, he was very excited. Mian, he said gently. Honey, how long have I been asleep? 3 days. It's been so long, my head is so dizzy, don't move. Lie down. Qin Chu quickly covered her with the blanket. Honey, where's Su Yu? He's fine. He's recovering in the ward downstairs. Where's Hua Xiqin? Huomin looked at Qin Chu with sad eyes. Qin Chu's hand, which was covering the blanket, paused slightly and then fell silent. Honey, say something. Where's Hua Xiqin? Huomin grabbed Qin Chu's arm weakly and kept asking about Hua Xiqin. He is dead, Qin Chu said slowly, hoping not to agitate Huomin. He did that to save me. I should have been the one who died. Huomian's eyes were red, and she looked extremely sad. Mian, calm down. Don't cry. Please don't cry. Take care of yourself. Seeing Huomin cry, Qin Chu was also very anxious. Even though he's done so many bad things, he's been protecting me all these years. Honey. I'm so sad. Hua Xiqin was blown to pieces just like that. Those people are all dead, right? Only Su Yu and I survived, right? Huomin grabbed Qin Chu's hands emotionally. Her hands were bone-chillingly cold, even colder than Huomin's body temperature. Qin Chu's heart ached, and he kept comforting Huomin. Mian, calm down, you're not in good health. You need to take care of yourself. After Qin Chu said this, Huomin realized something. She lowered her head and suddenly lifted the blanket. She looked at her flat belly, dumbfounded. Honey, where's my baby? Ah, where's the baby? She expressed her emotions well. Although her voice wasn't loud, it was obvious that she was on the verge of breaking down. Mian. Qin Chu choked on his sobs. He suddenly wanted to escape and didn't know how to tell her. Honey, where's the baby? Has it been born? Is it in the incubator? Take me to see it. Upon hearing Huomin's words, Qin Chu felt even worse. The baby isn't in the incubator. Then where is it? He's gone, Qin Chu said with difficulty. What do you mean by gone? Huomin stared at Qin Chu's face with wide eyes. The baby is gone, Mian, the baby is gone. The explosion injured you and Su Yu. The baby has no signs of life. When you were brought here that night, you had an emergency surgery. I don't believe you, honey, you must be kidding me. Ha, I don't believe you. Huomin cried and laughed at the same time. Her expression made one's heart ache for her. Mian, calm down. I know it's hard for you to accept this, but it's true. The baby is gone, but we'll have another in the future. We can always have another one. But I can't let you disappear and leave my side. As Chin-Chu spoke, his tears fell uncontrollably onto his white wrist. Suddenly, the entire room was filled with sadness. Chapter 4090. Su Yu and Lady Su were originally at the door, intending to visit Huamin. However, Huamin's heart-wrenching cries came from the room. It made Su Yu and his mother forget what they were doing. Su Yu stood outside the door, his hands trembling. Lady Su felt terrible seeing her son like this. Su Yu didn't say anything, as if he was holding back his tears. After some time, Huamin's cries seemed to have weakened. Su Yu mustered up his courage and knocked on the door again. As soon as Su Yu entered, he saw Chin-Chu's red eyes. Huamin was leaning against the hospital bed, his face covered in tears, holding a tissue in his hand. "Auntie," Chin-Chu greeted Lady Su. "We heard that Mian recovered, so we came to see her," Lady Su said gently. "You guys talk first, I'll talk to Mian's doctor." Chin-Chu walked out with red eyes. Su Yu walked to the bed with his mother's help. "Mian." He opened his mouth, but he suddenly didn't know what to say. Huamin looked at Su Yu with lifeless eyes. "Su Yu, my child is gone. He's angry and doesn't want to choose me as his mother." Upon hearing Huamin's words, Su Yu and Lady Su immediately cried. "Mian, I'm sorry. It's all because of me. If it wasn't for saving me, it wouldn't have. Mian, the Su family is sorry." Lady Su and her son also apologized to Huamin. "It's not your fault, it's all fate, it's all fate. Mian, you just had a miscarriage and are still in confinement. You can't cry. Don't hurt your body. Rest well, you'll have another child in the future," Lady Su comforted. "I won't have another child, I don't have the energy. Auntie, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. Mian, I'm sorry, don't apologize, Su Yu. We don't need this. No matter what, I'm happy that I saved you." Upon hearing Huamin's words, Su Yu felt even worse and wanted to say something. However, he saw Huamin lie down and cover his face with the quilt to keep him at bay. "Auntie, Su Yu, you guys go back first. I'm a little tired. I'm going to sleep for a while. Mian. Mian, you, don't take it to have Huamian, you to have Chu. Mian Su was mean was to Mian to mean was to Mian to not to Mian to her to mean to Mian would. I won't, Auntie Su. I want to live well. No matter how difficult it is, I want to live well." These words were indeed Huamin's style. Lady Su and Su Yu were helpless. Seeing that Huamin didn't want to say anything more, they had no choice but to leave. Before they left, Lady Su told the bodyguards at the door to keep an eye on Huamin. If something was wrong, they were to call Chin-Chu. She was afraid that she would take it too hard, however, she didn't. After Su Yu and Lady Su left, Huamin lay quietly on the bed and didn't do anything. When there was no one else in the room, she covered herself with the quilt and seemed to be about to laugh out loud. "Ha ha ha. Are these people too gullible, or am I too good at acting?" Huamin. Watch how I destroy the love, friendship, and family that you've worked so hard to build up over the years. Layla had an evil smile on her face. She didn't expect to succeed so easily. She did a big replacement. The explosives Huamin developed were indeed powerful, so the people she brought and Huasichen were all killed. The moment the bomb detonated, Layla quickly dodged and wasn't hurt at all. Before Chin Chu arrived, she arranged a scene of a miscarriage. In order to make it look real, she even got a dead baby. Of course, she believed that Chin Chu wouldn't suspect her in such a sad situation. He wouldn't be so perverted as to do a DNA test on a dead baby. Therefore, she easily disguised herself as Huamin after the miscarriage, and no one noticed. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.